What's going on, Papa Fam? Welcome to the Hulu 2.0 Next.js React build. Let me know if you guys are excited. I am ready for this one. We're gonna bring the fire with some Tailwind. You know how we do it. We're getting into Next.js territory, Tailwind territory. Oh, it's gonna be a lot of fun, guys. And I'm gonna show you how to host it and everything. Now, today's app is available to check out if you wanna have a little play around yourself. It's over at sunnysanga.com. Now, let me know in the chat where you guys are from. If you guys are, excited for today's build, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button and let's get ready to go ahead and build Hulu 2.0. Are you guys ready? I'm gonna go ahead and show you right now what we're gonna be building in today's build. Check it out, guys. Hulu 2.0. This build is so much fun, guys. We have animations, we have Tailwind, we have so much happening here today, right? We have server-side rendering. Now, you might have heard of server-side rendering, right? You might have heard it, it's a buzzword that's going around, and there is good reason for that buzzword to exist. Okay, server-side rendering is something which is going to be huge, mark my words. If you don't know it, get to know it, become best friends with it. It's gonna pay your bills. It'll make you a ton of money. Okay, guys, so this is Hulu 2.0 right here, okay? Now, what I'm gonna show you is, here you go, we've got some lazy loading images, which we've never done before, so we're gonna be using Next.js image optimization. If I go ahead and click on a category, you can see it nicely, smoothly transitions into it. This build is fully responsive, guys. So go ahead and check this out. Look at this, fully responsive build. Okay, so, and I'm gonna show you guys some amazing tricks. Look at the change that happened right there. Wow, all with Tailwind CSS. Look at that header bar, guys. Look how clean that is, right? And look at that, oh, did you notice? It's jumping. That's what I like to see, right? Smooth animations, check that out, guys. When we click on a button, you can see, look, we get a nice little zoom in effect. Zooming out, let's go ahead and check this out. Thank you so much, Praveen, for the nice notification, for the nice little donation right there. Thank you so much, dude. Now you can see right here, if I go ahead and hover over this, look at this, we get some nice little hover animations as well. Okay, now guys, this is incredible stuff, because what I've done here today is not only make this responsive, but today we're not just using Flexbox, guys, we're using Flexbox and CSS Grid. Now you're probably wondering, what? Why? How? What? Why? And I'm going to be showing you how it's so easy to get the perfect responsive website by using both CSS Grid and Flexbox. And we're going to achieve everything with Flexbox. We're going to achieve everything with Tailwind CSS. Getting my words mixed up. Let's go ahead and show you right now, okay? So once we're over on the small mobile screen, notice how this is a grid, okay? So right now, everything is in a grid, a single line grid. As we expand, we hit a new breakpoint. It turns to a 2-column grid, okay? As we go a little bit bigger, boom, we're gonna hit the 3-column grid, okay? Notice how the images are perfectly resizing. Everything is looking and feeling great at this point, okay? Let's go ahead and resize a bit more. And then we hit our max screen, okay? Now let's say you're on a 4K screen, right? You're on a massive screen. We wanna, for you guys out there that are using those crazy monitors, I've got an ultra wide in front of me right now. We want to support you guys too, okay? Because it's responsive. We're supposed to respond to every screen size. So let's go ahead and zoom out. Guys, look what just happened there. It switched from CSS Grid to Flexbox. So this is now on a huge screen, and this is a Flexbox container. This is insane, right? And I'm going to be showing you how to achieve all of this and these cool little animations and everything in just a sec. So let's quickly go ahead and break down this nice little build that we have today, okay, guys? So I'm going to show you guys the tech that we're going to be covering in today's build. So let's go ahead and write this out. We've got hero icons for these beautiful icons over on the right hand side. We have Next.js, right? Everyone knows Next.js is starting to become a big trend. We have Flexbox and CSS Grid, okay? We have two amazing technologies, Flexbox and CSS Grid. And we have REST APIs, guys. This is using the TMDB database. I'm going to be showing you guys how to make server-side rendered API calls to an external API, and it's going to work smooth and perfectly. And guys, I'm going to show you how to deploy this. Now, today's video would not be possible without our amazing sponsors over at Hostinger, right? Now, guys, I want you guys to try something out for me, okay? Now, let's go ahead and have some fun. So what I propose to do is the first 10 people to drop a comment with their custom domain name, I will personally go ahead and review your websites. Okay, so go ahead over to hostinger.com, use the first link in the description to get yourself a nice little sneaky discount. And yeah, we're gonna go ahead and at the end of the build today, we're gonna deploy our websites, hook them up to our own custom domain. Mine is sitting at sunnysanga.com right now if you want to go ahead and check it out. And then I'm going to show you how you can do that with your own custom domain. Now, why do you guys need to care about Hostinger? Why are they good? Why should you guys be interested with them? Hostinger are an amazing platform. Me and Jay and my team, we all use this to host many of the services we provide. Now, not only are they amazingly cheap, okay, but they are absolutely so user-friendly, okay? So we might have heard about a cPanel. cPanels are those headaches, you know, when you hear a cPanel, you're like, oh, I don't want to deal with all that DNS and all that stuff, but they make it so easy, okay? Firstly, I want to say welcome to everyone, by the way. I can see all your chats coming in. This is incredible stuff. Everyone from all ages, it's incredible stuff, okay? Now, guys, the guys over here, very easy to set this up, okay? So don't worry if you're a noob to this stuff. It's so easy. They're incredibly fast. They support WordPress if you guys have used WordPress, 24/7 chat out of the box, and it will support your app. And now, as I mentioned previously before, they have a new H panel, which replaces the C panel, and it's incredibly easy. Now, I'm going to be showing you how to use Hostinger with Vercel at the end of this build, so stay tuned to the end. And remember, guys, the first 10 people, I will be personally reviewing your sites if you go ahead and comment your custom domain in the description. Now, remember, use code SUNNY at checkout to save yourself 7% on that annual plan. I hope to see who the first 10 people are. Let's go ahead and jump into this. Neil says, hey Sunny, is this responsive? Hell yeah, dude, this is responsive. We're gonna be using Tailwind CSS to make that achievable today. And just to show you guys one more time, here is the Hulu 2.0 build that we're gonna be building. As you can see, a fully responsive build. And as we hit that mobile breakpoint, look at that. Beautiful site. Now, if you do want to check this out, go ahead and head over to sunnysanga.com right now, just like so, and you guys can perfectly see it for yourself, okay? Now, as I mentioned before, we are actually using lazy loading. So not only have we got a responsive site here, we even have SEO, right? SEO performance is boosted with server-side rendering. We have amazing, fast, lightning fast websites being deployed, being built right now with this amazing tech. Now, I don't know, but this, like, I like to teach what makes me excited, right? And this stuff makes me excited, which is why I'm going to keep on bringing this fire, okay? So let me know if you're excited right now. Smash that thumbs up button. And by the way, guys, 60% of you that are watching aren't actually subscribed, which blows my mind, okay? If you're enjoying the content, if you're watching right now and you are not subscribed, go ahead, hit that subscribe button, and I'm going to be dropping videos weekly from now on. Yes, I said it, weekly. And you know how your boy's gonna do it. Papa React is gonna deliver. Guys, without further ado, I say let's go ahead and jump into today's build. Let's go ahead and do this. If you want access to the Papa Fam playlist, sign up to the newsletter in the description. You're gonna get all the tunes that you're hearing today. Okay, guys, let's go ahead and do this. Let's jump into today's build. Let's do this, guys. Papa Fam, do you feel the energy? Sunny is on fire. Hell yeah, dude. Let's do this. Okay, so we're going to be using Next.js today, okay? So let's head over to Next.js. Now, if you're wondering, I mentioned Vercel earlier. Yes, they did actually make the React framework that we're going to be using today. And if you don't know what Next.js is, we have HTML, CSS, JavaScript. They are the fundamentals of web development. Then we have React, which is a library that basically wraps all this together to allow us to build really powerful apps. That was developed by the guys over at Facebook. Then Vercel came along with a framework for React, okay? And this allows us to have very performant, SEO friendly, server-side rendered capable websites, okay? Now, if none of that makes sense, just know that it's incredible skill to have, okay? So if you're interested in learning any of this stuff, remember, we do have a complete course on all of this stuff. Link is in the description for everything that you need today. Guys, let's do this. Let's jump into the video. Right, here is the framework that we're using today, Next.js, okay? Now let's go ahead and click Start Learning. Now I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how you can go ahead and quickly get set up with this stuff, so that way you don't have any, headache installing this, and you guys can get started up pretty smooth. Now you're gonna go ahead and click on Setup over here, and instead of using Create React App, we're gonna be using Create Next App. So I'm gonna go ahead and pop open a terminal right now. Whoa, we got Kenya in the house. My dad's from Kenya. That's cool, man. Right, I'm gonna go into my documents. I'm gonna go into my builds. And I'm going to do the following. I'm going to say mpx, okay, create next app, okay, and then we need to give it a name. So today we're going to give it the name Hulu to YouTube, and I'm going to hit enter, and this will go ahead and prepare a Next.js project for me. Okay, so this does all the heavy lifting, everything that I need to go ahead and get started. Okay, now Faizan says, in the meantime, I'm going to answer some questions. Faizan says, is this beginner friendly? I don't know how to do this stuff. Dude, just follow along with me. Even if something doesn't make sense, remember, as I said, HTML, CSS, JavaScript are your starting points. Then you want to go ahead, master the React fundamentals. Then you want to layer on Next.js on top. Now remember, you don't need to have Next.js to be successful in web development, okay? But it's a skill that I would highly recommend to have in your roadmap, because I personally feel it's going to take off the ground, and it's my now go-to tool, okay? So I am personally vouching for this. And in addition to that, I'm also vouching for Tailwind CSS. Bloody great tool, okay? Amazing utility classes, game changer. You're going to see today why, okay? So we went ahead and created our project successfully. So now I'm going to go ahead and CD into my Hulu to YouTube build, okay? Now I'm inside the build. So I'm going to go ahead and type in code dot. This will pull up my VS Code, and then I will have a place to start with our coding for today's build, okay? So let's go ahead and get this started. I'm going to go ahead and cut my old build so we don't have two clashing things. I'm going to go ahead and pop this on the full screen right here. And a lot of people asking, okay, could you use TypeScript, Sunny? Yes, we can. We will be using TypeScript. Remember, I don't like to layer on too many texts like in one go, so you guys it kind of gets a bit too much for everyone. But yes, we will be covering TypeScript. So if you are excited to see some TypeScript content, smash thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and stay tuned for some amazing content over on that side. Okay guys, I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit bigger for you, so that way you guys can see what's going on. Let me know if this is a bit better for you. Okay, so what we can do is we can go ahead and actually close the terminal that we had previously open. Okay, now what I recommend is you have two desktop screens open. So I have my coding screen over here, and then I have like a handy, useful web sort of, browsing screen on this side. Now I do have sunnysanger.com for reference. Okay, so you can use that when you're building out your version of the website, and then we'll go ahead and do this. Thank you so much. Pandy says, Sunny, you're great. I love how you try and make such amazing websites and apps. Thank you so much, dude. Craig says, does Hulu have an API? We're actually using the TMDB database today, okay? And also, guys, I'm going to show you how to use environment variables today, okay? So I've heard a lot of questions, and your boy is answering it today. I'm going to show you how to use environment variables in this build, okay? Let's go ahead and do this. All right. So we're going to go ahead and click on the pages and index. Now, the beautiful thing about Next.js is page routing is supported out of the box. Okay, so if you don't know what that means, I'm going to show you what that means. But the first thing we're going to do in today's build is get Tailwind CSS set up. So I'm going to go ahead and actually clean up a bit of code. So where we have the main over here, I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this. But before I do, I'm going to get this app up and running. Okay, so I'm going to hit Command J. Hit open my terminal, and I'm going to use yarn today. So here we can see a package lock. I'm actually going to go ahead and remove my package lock, and I'm going to do yarn to use yarn instead. And this will go ahead and resolve all the packages for the project in today's build. Okay, so while that goes ahead and gets sorted out for us, we can go ahead and hop over to Tailwind CSS. Now, what is Tailwind CSS? Okay, Tailwind CSS, and you might have got a little sneak peek of what's coming next. Yes, I will be covering the headless UI very soon. I've been actually diving into that. Tailwind CSS is basically how we rapidly build modern websites without leaving our HTML. Okay, it's my new favorite. I love this. Honestly, I use it all the time now, and I don't know how I can go back because it's so easy to use. And if you guys find it kind of, repetitive, or you find it a bit kind of like the class names are super long, Sunny, how do I get over that? I'll show you how we can combat that in today's build. Okay, so you can see here, we can pretty much hit our class names directly, and it will modify the output on the screen. So we're going to go ahead and get started on this, and we're going to click installation. Now you get a few integration guides here. I'm going to hit Next.js on this one over here, right? Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do npm install -d. I'm actually going to be using a yarn, so I'm going to grab everything past the -d, copy this right here. Go head over back to my code, and I'm going to go ahead and do the following. I'm going to type in yarn, add, and then I'll do -d, and then Tailwind CSS and everything that followed. Okay, this will go ahead and add in Tailwind to my project. Now we will be using the brand new JIT, just-in-time compiler. Okay, so this is going to be using the just-in-time compiler, which is an absolutely new feature for Tailwind CSS. They dropped an amazing video on that. Definitely go ahead and check that out. I'd 100% recommend that. Now I'm going to go ahead and type in the next step, which is to create the config files. Okay, so here we need to actually have a couple of configuration files. So I'm going to copy this where it says npx tailwind css init-p. Okay, this will go ahead and create two files for us, right? It's going to create the tailwind config and the post CSS config. These are two things which are required to go ahead and use Tailwind CSS. Okay, so with that said, we've got now have these two beautiful files in our system. And guys, by the way, if you do want to follow along today's code and you don't want to actually write it out yourself, the code has actually been uploaded to the Papa GitHub repo, and that is available in the description right now. So if you want to get a head start, or you just want to code along with me and you kind of get a bit lost on the way, feel free to grab the Papa GitHub repo. You get access to all the codes, all of the builds, everything that I've ever done, plus all future builds. So it's a worthwhile investment. Okay. Now here we have the Tailwind config. Now the first thing we need to do in here is actually go ahead and add in the Next.js files. So in Next.js, a lot of the pages are rendered out to the pages folder, and we need to go ahead and include that in the array over here. And we're also going to be using a components folder, so we do need to include that also. Okay, now what is purge? It basically allows Tailwind CSS to clean up all the CSS which we don't end up using. Okay, I'm not going to go too far into how it works, but I'll show you how to go ahead and use it. Okay, so here we have the purge rule applied. The next thing I want to do is I want to go here and type in mode. Okay, and I'm going to type in JIT, which is just-in-time compiler. Okay, and now what this will do is it will actually enable the new feature or the brand new latest tech in Tailwind CSS, and we're going to be using that in today's build. Okay, now if you have run your sort of code and you've done yarn run dev already, you're gonna have to restart because we just made a change to the config file. Okay, the next step that we need to do is include it in our CSS. So you can do this two ways. I don't personally like it this way. I like to do it this way. So I'm going to go into my global.css file. So all of the styles are in here. Now out of the box, Next.js, they use module.css. We're not going to be using that today. So I'm going to delete that out of here. And then I'm going to go into my globals, highlight everything, and simply paste Tailwind CSS. Okay, so we've got the Tailwind base, components, and utility classes. This will allow us to have all of that really nice, all of that stuff that we can pretty much go ahead and use when we're sort of, messing around with CSS. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is actually go ahead and run Next.js. Okay, because we have everything for Tailwind set up and working. So we're going to go back to our code into index, and this is basically, if you want to know how Next.js works, when we have our website, for example sunnysanger.com, inside the pages folder, this will determine what route we are on. So the index would be sunnysanger.com / okay, so it's the home page essentially. And then if I had, for example, let's say search.js, it would be / search. So in here it would be search.js. So this is how page routing happens in Next.js out of the box. Beautiful stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Command J, and I'm going to do yarn run dev like so. Okay, guys, we just broke 325 likes. Thank you so much. Let's get it to 400 and let's keep on going, Papa fam. Let's do this. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and start the server. Here you can see localhost 3000, and you want to watch out for a few things. So you want to make sure it says you have enabled the JIT engine, which is currently in preview. Okay, so yes, it's in preview. We like to use cutting edge tech on this channel. Okay, so I like to go ahead and use that stuff, but just bear that in mind if you're going to use it for a production environment. Okay, now the next thing you want to do is go ahead and open up your localhost 3000. Okay, now what you should see here is, what we actually see here is a cannot resolve the module.css, and that's because we deleted the styles. So we can go ahead and get rid of that, go ahead and get rid of the div class name, right, like so. And then let's actually clean up our code right now. So let's go ahead and hit all of the main and the footer and get rid of that. And I'm going to type in h1 and say let's build Hulu 2.0, right, hit save, and let's go back, hit refresh, and here you can see right in the corner we have let's build Hulu 2.0. Okay, if you are seeing this right now, amazing stuff. Okay, that's great. You are on the right track. Smash the thumbs up button. Let me know in the comments that you are with me, and let's go ahead and do this. And but guys, before I forget, make sure you have your every few minutes water break. Amazing stuff. Okay, let's do this. Bülent Guven says, I started to clone websites with you. You're a source of inspiration. Thank you for all the support. Thank you so much, dude, for tuning in. Without you guys, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing, okay? So thank you so much. I am grateful. Papa Fam has broke over 33,000 followers now, so it's getting huge, getting crazy now, guys, honestly. Okay, so let's go ahead and break down the site. Okay, so we've got a few different areas which we need to build out. One of the first things that I noticed is at the top, we have Hulu. It's very, very small right now, but you can see at the top in the title bar, we have Hulu, okay? Now, if I go here, you can see we have this head component in Next.js. This head component allows us to put in snippets of code which will belong in the head of the HTML document. So in this case, we can modify the title based on the page we're on. So here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to change it from Create Next App to, which we can see over here is Create Next App. I'm going to change that to Hulu 2.0. Okay, so 2.0. And then you can also change the favy icon if you feel like you want to do that, okay? Now you can see it says Hulu 2.0, all right? Perfect stuff, all right? This is looking great. Anupam says, let's go, another fire build. Thank you so much. Srini says, hey, Sunny, share the playlist, please. If you want the playlist, literally just sign up to the newsletter down below and you'll get access to the playlist. It's the first confirmation email. You'll get sent the playlist and everything works. Avnish actually just shared it as well. Amazing stuff. All right, so let's go ahead and do this. And oh, nice. Tafira says, by the way, son, I got entered as a React.js and Django developer. I was pure Django before and you introduced me to React. Totally addicted to React. I love you and your videos. Thank you so much, dude. And I appreciate you watching. Thank you so much, okay? How do you manage to come live so frequently? The grind does not stop, guys. We just keep working. That's it, right? Hulu is a streaming platform. It's similar to Netflix, all right? But I think it's in the States pretty much, okay? Let's go ahead and do this, all right? So right now we've got, let's build Hulu 2.0 with, Next.js. All right, so what we're gonna do first is I'm gonna mark things out with comments. The first thing I wanna do is I have a header component inside our code. So let's go ahead and break down the final build and let's draw some boxes around this thing. And, let's just make it a little bit more nicer to see. So the top bit consists of a header. Okay, so we have a header component at the top. Then we're gonna have a nav bar, okay? So you can see two components already. So the top one is going to be our header component. The second one is going to be the nav bar, okay? And then what we have is essentially, let's go ahead and draw it around here. Then we have the results, okay? So this is all we have. We have three components and we're going to show you how to go ahead, do server-side rendering and make this work in a beautiful fashion, all right? Moderators, you know what to do if someone spams, all right? So Avnish, do your thing, dude. All right, here we have results. Nice, okay? And then, so we have three main components, the header, the nav, and the results. Each one is gonna be responsive by itself, and then together, they come together to build this amazing, beautiful web page, okay? So let's go ahead and do this right now, okay? So like I said, we have the header, we have the nav, and we have the results, okay? So these are three components that we're gonna have to build out. So first one, let's start off with the header, right? The header is kind of fun. You know, it can go ahead and it can be very simple to go ahead and make. So the header right here is going to be, let's go ahead and make our first component. So right now we have a pages folder, but we don't have a components folder, okay? So I'm going to go ahead, click on my package.json. So I'm at that level. And then I'm going to click new folder and I'm going to type in components, okay? And then inside the components folder, I'm going to create our first component, which is going to be the header.js. Okay. Now I am using the lovely, beautiful snippets, right? So snippets is actually an amazing little extension, which you should be using. ES7, React, Redux, GraphQL, React Native snippets, right? And it goes on. Yeah, but that is basically something that I want all of you to download and install because it's going to help you be so fast with your production and it make it really, really nice. Okay. This is perfect stuff, right? Nice. If somebody continues to spam, you can go ahead and hide. That's completely fine. Okay. So let's go ahead and do the following. So I'm going to do _RFCE to make a React functional component without the importing React because we no longer need to do that. And then here I can change this to a header. Okay. Because we're going to be using correct HTML syntax in this build. Okay. So let me know if this is, if the size is pretty good for you guys. I'm always happy to go ahead and change this for you to make it work for you guys, okay? So I think we're good with this right now, okay? So the first thing that we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead, and we're almost at 400 likes. Thank you so much, guys. Let's pump that likes up, right? Let's go ahead and break 1,000 today. And you know how we do it, right? We're always going to go ahead and do this. Okay, so I'm going to show you guys, and we're not, you know what? We're not actually using Redux today because we built it so damn good. Okay, so this goes to show you that you don't always need to weigh up your app and make it heavy with all these extra state management tools. If you build it correctly, right, then you're only rendering what you need to render, right? Remember, the lighter your app is, the better. So it's not about, you know, including all the buzzwords and this and that, right? It's about including all the tech that will deliver a smooth, fast, reliable experience and be friendly with Google. Okay, so SEO, hence Next.js. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's jump into this. Okay, so we've got the header here. I'm going to go ahead and type in the class name, and we're going to go ahead and pop in some stuff here. Now I'm just going to go ahead and populate this with the H1 saying this is the header. Okay, now over on index.js, I'm going to go ahead and do header and import this. Now a lot of you, I always get the question of like, what happens here? How do you go ahead and actually import it? It's basically this auto import feature which goes ahead and pops up like so, and that's how I do the auto import. Or you can go ahead and click at the end of this, control spacebar, and then you can do the following like so. We got 2 lovely donations. Thank you so much, GK Ram. Sunny learned a lot about React just by cloning apps. Thank you so much, dude. Avjeet, thank you. Another beautiful donation. Thank you so much, guys. Appreciate you guys. Right, so we've got the header over here. Let's go ahead and hit save and let's see what's going on. So this is the header, perfect. Now I'm going to go ahead and pull this over into the other screen right now so we can actually code side by side with our application. Okay, so this will be a lot nicer to see. I'm going to go ahead and make this a full screen. There we go, perfect. Okay, so we have the header over on the right hand side, and we've got let's build Hulu 2.0. I can go ahead and get rid of that right now. Okay, hit save. And thank you, Quinn. He says you are the best coder. I appreciate that so much. Okay. A lot of people say, why doesn't the H1 tag work? Okay, so this is interesting. When you're using Tailwind CSS, it actually eliminates the default styling that you're going to see, right? Because Tailwind CSS allows us to then style it. So this plays perfectly with something called headless UI, which is actually developed by the guys over at Tailwind, which I will be introducing in the next build. And yeah, your boy's coming with that one. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Tazeen, thank you so much for the kind gesture. Check the link in the description if you want to. There's a second link and that should be able to help you out. All right, so this is the header over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click into my header and then let's code this out. Okay, so inside the header, we're going to have a bunch of different header items. So you can see these are going to be individual header items. I am going to make these into their own individual components, which consist of an icon, which we're going to be using hero icons for. And then we've got the text. Okay, so these are going to be reusable components. And then we have the image on the right hand side. Okay, so let's go ahead and sort that out right now. So the first thing I want to do is I want to actually pop in that image. Okay, so let's go ahead and add in a image tag. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and do an image tag. Now this is not a normal image tag. This is a Next.js image tag, which is actually going to be by default out of the box lazy loaded. Now, if you're not familiar with what lazy loading is, let's go ahead and show you a demonstration. So if I load up a web page, you can notice that we see the 6 pictures appear on the screen. Now, our user does not need to see all of the hundreds of pictures below their viewport. They only need to see the 6, right? If we load up all of them, that's just a waste of network usage, right? So if I go ahead and scroll down now it starts to load in those images. We call this feature lazy loading. This is something which we should adopt as a standard, but the default IMG HTML element doesn't do this out of the box, okay? But Next.js, it does, right? And it does a lot of other good things as well. So just bear that in mind, and that's going to help you out quite a lot, okay? Now, let's go ahead and check this one right here. So yeah, and also guys, we are actually streaming on Twitch. So if you want to go ahead and join over there, feel free to, okay? Okay, so we've got the header. This is the image tag. So I'm going to go ahead and import the image from next/image. Okay. Now the image does require a source. Okay. Oops. The image does require a source. So the source in this case, I've actually gone ahead and minified this for you. It's going to be this right here. So it's https://links.papareact.com UA6. And this will be a picture of the Hulu logo. Okay. Now you can see image with source must use width and height. So in this case, it takes 2 custom attributes, and we're going to use the width and height attributes of width of 200, height of 100. Okay. So if I go ahead and do this, then we can see this, and you can see now it says the host name links.papareact is not configured, okay, under next.config.js. This is because whenever we use an image, we have to tell Next.js that we're allowed to use that domain, okay, that we permit the usage of this domain, okay. So what I need to do is I need to go into my files. I'm going to click package.json to go to this level. I'm going to create a new file called next.config.js, okay. Next.config.js. Now inside of here, I'm going to go ahead and paste the following, okay. Now we have got images from TMDB, which is a movie database, so I'm going to be setting it up for those as well. But I need to go ahead and write the following: module.export equals, and then an object with an images key inside of it. This is again an object, and now we're basically saying that the domains that we permit, right, this is an array and we can put all the domains inside of it. The one that we permit is links.papareact.com. Okay, so we're going to allow for that, and we're also going to allow from this one. This is going to be used later on when we decide to use the movie images. Okay, perfect. So if we go ahead and hit save, you can see found a change in Next.js config. Restart the server to see the changes in effect. Control C to cancel. Go ahead, do yarn run dev to go ahead and re-kick the development server back into gear. Guys, we just broke 400 likes. Let's keep going, guys. This is amazing stuff. We got over 400 people watching across different platforms right now. Crazy, crazy stuff. Thomas Campos, thanks a lot, champion. Thomas, welcome to the Papa fam. Thomas joined yesterday, and I saw, by the way, he joined the 0 to Full Stack Hero course that we offer in the amazing community inside the Papa fam. Welcome, dude. Good to see you here. Right. So here we have, let's go ahead and check this out. Yeah, I'm excited to see who the first 10 comments as well will be, all right? Remember, guys, comment your custom domain that you got from that hosting a link. I can check if you've actually used the hosting a link. So make sure you use code Sunny at checkout for your annual plans, and then comment your custom domain and build the site and host it. And I'm going to do a personal review of all of those websites, okay? This is going to be so much fun. All right, so let's go ahead and close that now. And now if I go over to my, oops, I've actually closed that. Oops, I've closed the wrong one. Let's go ahead and open up my localhost. Thank you so much, Avijit. He says, I got my first React job on 3rd of March working on real world projects straight away, only because of you. You have really changed my life and a lot of others too. Thank you so much, dude. I'm going to go ahead and pull that one up on the screen right now. That's incredible stuff, guys. Check this out. He's actually gone ahead and got himself his own little job, which is incredible, dude. And that's what we do this for. That's why we're here. We're here to change lives. Thank you for watching and appreciate the donation, dude. Okay, so let's go ahead and carry on. So I'm going to go ahead and head over to my header.js. Now here we have our image. Okay, now obviously we can't see the image right now, so we're going to go ahead and style it accordingly so that we can go ahead and see that. Now the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a custom class name. Now this is a CSS class name, so a Tailwind CSS. I'm going to do class name equals object contain. Okay, oops, there we go, object contain. This will go ahead and actually contain the object once we go ahead and get in there. Now right now you can actually see the Hulu logo is there, but it's white. Okay, so it's white right now. So if you notice, the Hulu logo is basically going to be white on a blue background. Okay, so it's a blue background. So let's go ahead and change the background to be a blue. Now, how do we go ahead and change the entire global app background? The way we do this is we go to our globals.css, and I'm actually going to go ahead and apply some global styles to the entire application. So how do we do this inside of Tailwind? Okay, so what we do is Tailwind, we have a base. Okay, now the base basically is as it sounds. It's the base sort of classes that we're going to have inside of our app. The way we access that base is we say at layer base. Okay, so we do at layer base, which means we access that. The next thing I'm going to do is go ahead and modify the body of our HTML document. Okay, and then here I'm going to say at apply. Now this basically means that we can actually write Tailwind CSS and it will get picked up here in the way that we expected it to. Okay, so I want to do a few things here. Okay, the first thing I want to do is I actually want to set a background color. So the way it works in Tailwind CSS is they have a beautiful color palette that you can refer to. Okay, and I'm going to show you how it works over there. Right, so if we go over to Tailwind CSS and check out their homepage, and you can see pretty much a nice breakdown of everything here. Right, they have a beautiful color palette, and now here you can see you've got BG, which stands for background, the color, and then the shade. Okay, now what if we want to have a custom color? Okay, so by using JIT, which is the just-in-time compiler, we can have this amazing functionality to basically bypass the color palette, which is amazing, by the way, right? So their color palette is beautiful out of the box. But what we're actually going to do is have our own color being used, okay? So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. I'm going to say BG for background, and I'm going to go ahead and put a hex in a square bracket. And this will basically tell the just-in-time compiler that just before it runs, apply this exact sort of custom class, okay? And then it will go ahead, generate the utility classes for that color, okay? So I also want the text to be gray. And as I mentioned before, it's all in shades, okay? So here you can pretty much see it goes from 50, which is a light, all the way to 900, which is a dark. This happens across text colors, background colors, and all that good stuff. So here we're gonna say text gray 300, hit save. And now you can see the background has changed to a Hulu and the color of the text here has gone to gray. If I was to go ahead and change this to red, you would be able to see that the text went to a red, but a light red, okay? So let's go ahead and do this right here. So we're going to say text gray. Ibrahim Mohammed says, Sunny, what other benefits can we get by joining the course if we follow your live builds every time? So on the live, and in the course, we have live coaching calls where we go deep into how you can go ahead and take the skills that you learn on these streams, land yourself a job, and we go ahead and go deep diving into the latest and greatest tech. In addition, guys, it's a community that you can always refer to and be a part of a family, right? So we're here to support you in the Papa Fam, not only when to get the job, but after you get that job, and go ahead and, you know, support you with if you get stuck with a debugging problem, we'll share that debugging problem with the entire community, run through a coaching call together and overcome it. So it's a team for life. That's how we have it inside of Zero to Full Stack Hero. Link is in the description if you want to join us. I highly recommend it. Okay, guys? This is incredible stuff. We have loads of people here right now. Amazing energy. I love you guys to pieces. All right. Let's go ahead. Rauno says, just got a job as front-end developer. Thanks to you. I did a Spotify clone and Netflix clone starting on the 17th of May. Thank you. Thank you. That's incredible, dude. It makes my damn day when I see that. This is incredible. We're results based here. Okay. We're all about getting results. I don't care about making another Udemy course. It's about results, right? This is the goal for me, right? This is why the Papa Fam exists. So inside of the header component, okay, we have the image. Now the image is looking pretty good. Okay, I'm pretty happy with that right now. So the next step I want to do is I want to go ahead and actually create these individual elements over here. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. Richard says, ever try Next.js for backend dev? Yes, we actually covered it in a coaching call internally in the course. It's really good, honestly, really, really good. It comes with a built-in API, and to show you right here, so we don't go too far off track, but here you've got a built-in API. So if I was to type in localhost 3000/API, hello, boom, we get a nice little API, which is running on the server. Okay, so that's just goes to show you how simple it is. You don't even need to set up your own Express server. It just works, right? So let's go ahead and set up the header items. So this is the next portion of the build, okay, the header items. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and create a container to contain those header items, okay? Because as you can see, we've got a left section over here. So this left section is going to be my sort of, you know, like a div for the left. And then I'm going to have the right section over here. Now, this is a nice little trick I found out. Right, so we're going to have a little div which represents this, a little div which represents this, and I'm going to be using flex to go ahead and justify how it's spaced out, okay? So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to have my div, and I'm going to go ahead and have header items in each one. Okay, so header item. Now, obviously, this is not a component which exists. So I'm going to go ahead and create myself a header item.js component. Inside of here, underscore RFCE, and it goes ahead and pops up our code. Okay, now inside of header item, we're going to take two props. I will explain what a prop is in a second, but we're going to go ahead and come back to that. Okay, now I'm going to import my header item that we just created right there. So again, control space bar at the end of the word, and you'll go ahead and be able to import the item in. Okay, and then we're going to pass in props. Okay, so whenever we create a custom component, right, we can pass in something called props, which stands for properties. Props basically allow us to reuse a component, and that will basically be the fundamental, and that is a fundamental key part to React, which allows us to write a bit of code once and reuse it several times. Okay, so throughout this entire build, we have a bunch of reusable components. So here I have a title, which for the first one is actually going to be home, and then, oops, home, and this is going to represent this. So this will be the title, home, and then we have an icon. Okay, so the second one would be the icon. And notice how I'm passing in a capital I, because this is actually going to be a component that I'm passing in. Now the icon is going to be pulled from something that we call hero icons. Okay, so this is actually heroicons.com. Now they work natively with Tailwind CSS. Okay, so everything works beautifully. And again, the Tailwind are on fire, guys. They are building hero icons. They are building, and these are beautiful SVG icons. SVG means scalable vector icons, which means that it doesn't matter, scalable vector graphics. It doesn't matter how you resize them, because it's mathematical. It will go ahead and resize, will never pixelate. So SVGs are the way to go. They're also extremely lightweight, okay? Guys, smash that thumbs up. We're almost at 500 likes, okay? So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna install this. So I'm gonna click on documentation. And now inside of here, what we do is we simply go ahead and say npm install. I'm going to do yarn add hero icons react. Okay. Nice. Cesar says, in the meantime, you have reached 33,600. Yeah, man, it's crazy. We're growing at an incredible rate over on YouTube. The Papa fam is growing so fast. Thank you so much, dude. So here we say yarn add hero icons react. Okay, this will go ahead and add our sort of dependency to the project, so that way we can pull in those icons that we require. 450 likes, amazing stuff, guys. Let's get this up to 500. Let's keep going, guys. I love this energy. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and close that second terminal. Perfect. And then I'm going to go ahead and pull my screen back. Command J to hide the terminal. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pull in my first icon. So this one is going to be called the home icon. Okay, so I'm actually going to pull in a bunch of these from the library that we just pulled in. Okay, the module that we just pulled in. So here's how I import them. And now, as you can see, it's from hero icons react outline. Now there are two variants with every single hero icon that we use. Okay, you have the outline variant and the solid variant, and you can see it's very sort of self-explanatory. The solid is colored in, the outline is outlined. And now here, if I need to find anything, I would type in the name, and then this would give me the sort of, you know, this is how I search for them. So this is how I was able to find all of these icons as sort of required. Okay, so here what we can do is I'm going to go ahead and pull in my home icon like so. Hit save. Okay, now I'm going to render out the first header item. So let's go over to my header item, and let's go ahead and style this out accordingly. So the props that we pass in actually get pulled through over here as an argument. In ES6, we can do something called destructuring. So I'm going to go ahead and pull apart the props by putting curly braces around it, which means I can select the keys from inside the object that I care about. Thank you so much, Mohammed. He just dropped a nice little coffee donation. Appreciate that, dude. Thank you so much. All right. So here what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and grab my icon and my title. All right, and again, you can see I've put in the order opposite to how we defined it here, because these are keys. So it doesn't matter. All right, we can have it in any order. All right. So at this point, we're going to go ahead and actually render the sort of items on the screen. So I'm going to render the icon, which is, as I mentioned before, it's a component, hence the capital I. And then what we're going to go ahead and do is have a p tag, which is going to have the title inside of it. Okay, I'm going to hit save. And now you can see, boom, we get that massive icon on that side, and then we get the. Let me know if this is actually clear. There we go. That's better. Okay. So I get bad hay fever, guys. So if you hear me sniffling, I'm not sick. I have hay fever. Right, okay. So just a FYI. Okay. So here we have the first icon like we needed. Okay. So I'm going to show you how we can use Tailwind CSS to go ahead and start this out easily. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and say class name equals, and I'm going to say h8. Now this means a height of 8. Okay, so boom, immediately the style gets applied. And in Next.js, we have this beautiful thing called fast refresh, okay, which makes it so easy to go ahead and develop because it just quickly refreshes. Okay. Now let me know where you guys are from in the chat right now. Okay, I want to see where everyone is watching from. And again, if you're watching from when you drop that comment, smash the thumbs up button, let the energy go off. I can see loads of people in India, we have Kenya in the house, we have the States, United States. Let me know if you're from the States, right? Canada's in the house. Oh my god, it's so cool to see. Okay, so we got Turkey as well. Nice, awesome stuff. Right, so we're gonna Netherlands, Bahrain, Morocco. Wow, this is crazy. We have so many people. China, Italy, Portugal. Whoa, my God. Tiago from Ireland. Oh my God, Germany. It's crazy. I didn't expect that. I just thought I'd do it for fun, but that's so cool. Wow, thank you so much, guys. Right, now we're gonna go ahead and do margin bottom of 1. And as you can see, look, it's very quick and easy to apply these things, and the text is very short, right? Wow, look at that. It is popping off in the chat right now. I did not expect that, guys. Smash the thumbs. We're almost at 500 likes. This is incredible. You guys get me hyped up, right? This is so fun. Okay, now for the p tag for the class, right? I'm going to go ahead and do class name equals. Wow, I just didn't know that was that many people watching. Because honestly, guys, I see a number, right? And then I forget who is behind the number sometimes. So it's just incredible to see international team out here, right? Papa Fam is international, hell yeah, right? So here we're going to do for the home, okay? I'm actually going to style this out, and basically, firstly, I want this text to be spaced apart a little bit more. So we can do something called tracking widest here, okay? And this will go ahead and space the text out a little bit more, right? Now, I do recommend, if you're using Tailwind CSS, make sure, go ahead and download this extension over here for this one right here. So it's Tailwind CSS IntelliSense. This will give you, as you type in the class names, it will give you a very nice autocomplete, okay? Really do recommend that you go ahead and install this, because it will be something which will really help you out, okay, when you're building with Tailwind CSS. So we've gone ahead and done tracking widest. Now, as you can see, this doesn't look exactly like the build that we have over here, okay? So over here, things are centered, and then when we hover over it, the home appears, and when we don't hover, the home disappears. Okay, so how do we get this to work in the way that we want it to, okay? So the way that I'm gonna do this right now is actually, I'm gonna say by default, the opacity is gonna be 0, okay? So I'd actually wanna hide it initially, okay? Then what I wanna do is I'm gonna use this amazing thing called, so what we can do inside of Tailwind CSS is we can actually apply active states, okay? So hover states, active states, like, and all those different like modifiers to our CSS. So here I'm gonna say only when I hover do I want the opacity to come to 100, okay? So you see, only when I hover does the opacity come to 100. But what if I want the entire sort of, let's say this entire box, when I hover over the entire thing, right? Because as you can see here, it's when I hover over the entire thing, we refer to this as a group, okay? So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get rid of this. In my div above, I'm gonna go ahead and type in group, okay? So this is gonna represent a group. And then what I'm gonna say down here is if I hover over any of the things inside this group, then I want the opacity to go to 100. And if I hit save now you can see if I hover over anything over inside that group, it will go ahead and show, which is a lot nicer, okay? So the next thing I want to do is I want to go ahead and give it a flex box, okay? So just to help us out here, I'm actually going to go ahead and just show opacity 100 by default and then change it afterwards, okay? So here I'm going to say flex by default, okay? So here we have our flex by default, and I'm going to say I want to do flex column. Now bear in mind, when we are doing Tailwind CSS, guys, you must remember, so firstly, this is using the full width, hence why we see it like this, okay? You must remember that it is mobile first, which means we style everything assuming that we are on the smallest screen size first. And then what we do is we use special breakpoints, for example, SM, and then we go up in size to go ahead and make it bigger, right? And then we hit those breakpoints to apply the classes at those different sizes. Okay, so we assume everything is at the smallest size first, okay? This is what we call mobile first development, okay? Guys, we just broke 500 likes. Thank you so much. The energy is crazy. Let's go for 600. That's incredible. Richard says, do you have to name a group? If so, how do you do this for multiple groups? So yes, you do have to do groups, and it's based on the parent. Okay, so that's how it works. Okay, so here we have the group, and now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say items should be centered. Okay, now these modifiers, utility classes, are found in Tailwind documentation. So you can see when I do the centering, it centers the item like so. And then what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to go ahead and type in cursor pointer. Now this is going to go ahead and allow me to have a cursor of a pointer, sorry, when I hover over. So now you can see I get a nice little pointer when I hover over this. Okay, perfect stuff. Right, so I'm going to go ahead and hover this, and so you can see that for a bit more easier. Well, what I'll do is actually I'll make the screen a bit bigger. There we go. I'll zoom in twice. Right, so we've got the group. Now what I want to do is I want to set the width to a custom width of 12. Now the reason why I want to do this is I don't want it to use up the full width of the screen, right? Because what will happen is when we resize the screen, you can see if I set it to allow it to be its own size, the text would determine the size of the container, which would mean that it would push everything out. So by default, I'm saying become a width of 12. Okay. So here I'm saying become a width of 12, and then I only want it to get a little bit bigger, right? When I hit the small breakpoint. So here you can see as I get smaller, then it gets a little bit bigger. But how do we get that size? Like, how do I do that? How do I apply those different styles at that point? Okay. So here what I do is I say, when we hit the small breakpoint, I will change the width to 20. That's it. It's as simple as that. Okay. Let's go ahead and hit save. Okay. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, when I hover over it, I want the text to become white. So if you can notice, when I hover over this, look how it goes from a gray to a white. Okay. So gray to a white when I hover over it. Okay. So here what I'll do is I'll say hover, and this one will be text white. Okay. Now if I hit save, you can see, look, the text is actually going to white. Okay. Nice. Right. This is really, really nice. Okay. It's working really good out of the box. Okay. So the next thing we want to do is I want to have it so that when I hover over this, I want the entire thing, sort of this icon, to bounce. Okay, so how do I do it? And you're probably thinking, man, that's going to be complicated. It's going to have to do some CSS animations. How the hell does that happen? But it's a lot easier than you might think. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how we do that right now. It's actually super easy to do that. Okay, here we say group hover. So when I hover over the entire group, I want to do animate bounce. Okay. And now what we'll do is when I hover over it, look at that. We get an animate bounce. Right now, there are some built-in ones. There's animate bounce, there's animate posts, so many different things, okay? Now, I'm just going to take a drink of water. 1 second, guys. Incredible stuff, guys. Almost at 600 likes. Let's keep on going. Okay, so now we have the animate bounce complete, okay? So this is looking pretty good at this point. All right, so now what I'm going to do is Athava says Tailwind is awesome. Can we use it with normal React? Of course, dude, 100%. So now I'm going to change my opacity for the text to be by default 0. Now what we should see is if I hit save, oops, not this one. If I hit save now we should see only when I hover do I get the effect applied. Okay, so it starts bouncing, and this right here is how we have it in the final build. Okay, so this is looking really, really nice. Okay, now what we do, all right, guys, don't spread some silly messages, okay? Otherwise you are going to get blocked. All right, thank you. Now we've got animate bounce, awesome stuff. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have, so at that point we've actually finished with this component. Okay, so we have a reusable component looking great at this point. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is go over to my header, and then I'm going to go here, and I'm just going to go ahead and paste out the rest of the reusable components. So we've done a bunch of imports at the top. So I'm actually going to do a few variations to the titles, and then you apply the different icons. Okay, and if I hit save on this, we will see that we get the following applied. Okay, so now we get all of the perfect looking. So this is looking great, right? And the reason why this is appearing the way it is because by default is inline. Okay. So obviously we need to change the parent container to basically behave and style as we want it to. Okay, so this parent container now is where we do the styling to make sure that it behaves in the way that we expect it. So I'm going to say this is a flex box. So by default it hits a row. Okay, so there we go. We've got a row. And then what you can see is that's looking pretty good at this point. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, this should be flex grow. So use up as much space as you possibly can. Okay, then I'm going to justify evenly. Okay, so justify evenly. And as you can see, this is starting to become very simple in terms of the sort of the things that we need to write. Okay, now here it's actually pretty simple in terms of what we're doing so far. Now I do want to make sure that when we have, so I've done flex grow, but I don't want it to grow like this. Okay, I don't want it to like kind of spread out to this extent, right? I do want to limit it. So what I can do is I can set a max width. I can say max width 2XL, which is actually a breakpoint which has actually been given to us by the guys over at Tailwind CSS. Okay, so we have small, we have medium, we have large, extra large, 2XL. I'm going to hit save, and now you can see that irrelevant if it gets so big or not, it will go ahead and now, as you can see, it is kind of hitting that top, so we're going to have to apply some margins in just a sec. Okay, so perfect stuff. Okay, I think we're back. Wow, that freaked me out. I don't know what happened there. Okay, so at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do the following. I'm going to go to my top and I'm going to say flex. So the parent container now, we don't want the header and the Hulu to be in this kind of fashion, okay? I want it to be like this, right? So I want it to look exactly like this. Whereas right now it's kind of like in a weird orientation. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, okay, it's flex by default, okay? Flex by default. Now, if you notice, the mobile first view is this. So remember, as I said, this is what we should be building first. Okay, so mobile first, okay? Then what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and do flex column. Okay, flex column like so, right? Avnish, just feel free to just block people who are, you know, who are kind of wasting time, okay? Right. So let's go ahead and flex column. There we go. And then I'm going to say when we hit the small breakpoint, so now by default it's in this, right? Perfect. When we hit the small breakpoint, then I want to change to a flex row. Okay. Perfect stuff. Right. So this is looking great. Then what I'm going to do is type in a margin of 5. So top, left, right, and bottom. Now that looks a bit nicer, right, guys? And guys, we're almost at 600 likes. Let's keep going. This is incredible, right? So look, now we've got the margin applied. And then when we hit the small breakpoint, see how it changes to flex row. So very, very nice subtle changes. But we have this issue, okay? So it's not actually spacing itself correctly or on the correct vertical axis line. Okay, so we're doing margin of 5, and then we'll say justify between. So justify between, like so. Hit save, and then I'm going to go ahead and do items center, right? Perfect. And now if I go ahead and sort of, you know, go ahead and resize this now, look how it perfectly resizes. Okay, right? Amazing stuff. This is looking great. Okay, so Harthava says we have some padding issues. Not anymore, dude. Now it's looking great. Right. So even here, what you can do is I've actually chosen to have it kind of, you know, close together, but you can, you know, change it as you want. The reason why I chose it to have it this way is because this is going to be on a phone. So I kind of wanted to have this effect, right? But you can change that if you wanted to. It's completely up to you. Okay. Item center. And I'm going to make the height automatic as well. Okay. So H auto. There we go. Right. Everything's looking great at this point. What's up, Priyanshu? Good to see you in the chat. Okay. So with that said, guys, we just completed the fully responsive header. Okay, so this is great right now. This is exactly as we wanted it. This header is looking perfect at this point. So it's mobile first, and as we resize, it hits the small breakpoint, and then it just goes ahead and resizes accordingly, right? Based on the constraints that we set it. So this is looking really, really clean at this point, okay? This is looking great. Right, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and build out the next part, right? So no pun intended, okay? But now we're gonna build out the nav bar. Okay, so we've done this bit. Now we're going to build out this scrollable nav bar. Now notice as well how there's a slight fade here, guys. So I want to make, you know, bring your eyes to that. Well, I've got this nice little fade that happens over here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you how we do this nav bar right here. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and do index.js like so. And then I'm going to go ahead and do a nav component. Okay. Then I'm going to close this out. Perfect. And I'm going to go ahead back to my top components. And I'm going to create the nav.js component. Okay. Now do underscore RFCE. Perfect. All right. Now inside of the nav bar, okay, we're actually going to be using the correct HTML element, which is a nav component. Right, this will tell, you know, SEO purposes and things like that, that it is the sort of navigation component. Whoa, Antonio Cortez, thank you so much, dude. $10 donation coming in hot. All right, thank you so much. That's incredible, man. Thank you so much. All right, so here we've got the nav. I'm going to go ahead and import that from our component like so. And then we can go ahead and build this out, okay? So what do I want to have over here, right? So this is actually going to take a few little things that we're going to have in this bit right here. So we're going to have firstly our div. Now our div is going to contain all of these options over here. Now these aren't hard-coded values, okay? These are actually being pulled from a separate utility file that I've created called requests. Okay, now you're probably wondering, whoa, what's going on here? Now I'm going to show you, this is where the clever part comes in and how we go ahead and connect to the TMDB database to pull in the correct thing. So in this case, we've got different categories, genres, we can call them trending, top rated, action, comedy, and so forth, a bunch of other stuff, okay? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and create a util folder. This is going to be utility folder, which is going to have all of our helper stuff. So I'm going to click package.json to go to that level, type in utils, and then over here, I'm going to go ahead and inside of this, I'm going to go ahead and create a file called requests.js. Okay. Now this is going to serve as the place that will have all of the sort of relevant things that we require to make the requests to that backend API. Okay. So in this case, what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and actually have firstly an API key. Okay. Now this API key is a variable just called API key, and it pulls from our environment variable. Now we've never done environment variables on the channel before, but it's standard that you should be using. What's up from South Korea? Good to see you guys here. Okay. So what we have right now is we have an environment key, environment variable. Okay. So the way that we have an environment variable is we go inside of here, and I'm going to create a file here called .env.local. And this means that our local environment files. Now you get development environment files, production environment files, and I'm going to show you how we can have a local environment file. And these are private. These do not get pushed to GitHub. Environment variables are private variables. They don't get pushed to GitHub, which means that the developers will need to have their own environment variables, which are private on their machine. Now, what I'm going to show you is how we can go ahead and do this, and then how we can have our variables encrypted in Vercel when we deploy to production later as well. Okay. Now it is supported out of the box. Okay. A lot of people are saying, do you have a code? No, guys, I have hay fever and it's hitting me hard right now. Okay. So I'm trying to beat it. Okay. So at this point, Next.js got I'm going to go to requests. Okay. So now I'm going to say export default like so. And then I'm going to do a object. Okay. And now inside of here, I'm going to have all the different things. Okay. So let's just go ahead and create our first one, which is going to be called fetch trending. Now the key for this one is going to be fetch trending. And then we're going to have a few things inside. We're going to have a title, which is going to represent what we see on the screen. In this case, we've got trending, top rated, and so forth. The second thing is going to actually be the URL to fetch from. Okay. In this case, we're going to use backticks because we're going to have some string interpolation. And thank you so much, Agam Judd. Raveen says, can you share the source code? The link for the Papa GitHub repo is in the description. Feel free to jump in and check it out. Right. When is the next React Native project coming? Oh, you know, sooner than you think. Okay. So I'm focusing on Next.js right now, but I'm going to be dropping that very soon as well. Okay. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit paste, and you guys can see this is our first URL endpoint. Okay, so /trending /all/week question mark. This is going to be our first query. Oh, nice. Frank's in the house with $10 donation. Thank you so much, dude. This Hulu build is so clean. Next.js is awesome. Let's go. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate your support all the time, man. That's incredible. Thank you so much, Frank. Good to see you here. So we have an API key right here. And this will go ahead and, put in our process.env.npm API key. And then the language is English. Okay. So perfect stuff. Now what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and actually put out an API key. So the way we do that is we go ahead to environment local, and then we're going to say API key equals, and this would be your API key. Okay. So it'll be like, a private key here. Okay. So in this case, I do have an API key, and I will show you how to get your API key in a sec. Okay. But for now, I'm just going to say it's ABC. Okay. Let's just say this is my private key. Okay. And I'm going to show you how to get your own TMDB key in just a sec. Okay. So now what we have is this is our first fetch trending. Now we've got a bunch more. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and copy and paste these, and I will leave it on the screen to show you guys in just a sec so you can do the same thing. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and pause it right here, and then you can pretty much see each of the different endpoints that we have. Okay. Now these are all been specifically catered for, and what it's doing is it's accessing the TMDB API and getting the corresponding genre. Okay, so in this case, romance is the genre 10,749 and so forth. Okay, so we have loads of these things right here. Okay, remember these are backticks, right, which interpolate our API key into the string. Okay, so this is what we do here. And now if I go ahead and hit save like so, okay, so this will go ahead and actually be where we pull in our requests. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is I'm going to go into my nav, and now we can actually go ahead and continue with the front end. Okay, so we can actually leave it there for this second, and then we can go ahead and continue to build out the front end. Okay, so we have the div, which is going to be responsible for holding all of these different things. Okay, so we're going to be holding, you know, top rated action, comedy, horror, and so forth. Okay, so in this point, what I'm going to say is going to have my JSX. I'm going to say, now what I want to do is I want to loop through everything inside of the requests. Okay, so I'm going to loop through all of this, but I want to get, so this is the clever bit, right? I only want to get basically, you know, the title of each one. Okay, now how do I do that, right? But I actually do need a few other things. I need the key, I need this thing, right? And I also need like the title. I need a few different parts here, right? Thank you so much, Pierre Alain Schütz, right? Sorry if I pronounced it wrong, but he just dropped a, I'm not sure what currency that is, but a 10 CHF, right? I will find out what that is, but thank you so much, dude, for that beautiful donation. He says, thank you for these very interesting lives. I learned a lot of things. Appreciate you, dude. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching. All right, this is incredible stuff, guys. We're almost at 600 likes. Let's keep on pushing, guys. Okay, Swiss, that's it. Right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our nav, and then we're going to go ahead and do object.entries. Okay, now in here I'm going to get my requests, and this request I'm going to import from our utils. And then what this will do is it will give me, so I'm going to map through the results. And then what this does is it gives you your sort of, you know, it gives you each individual item, but it's an array that it gives back. And the array that it gives back is the key and the value. Okay, the key and the value. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to destructure the value to give me the title and the URL. So what we've actually done here, I hope this makes sense, is we're going to go ahead and we've looped through. Okay, so we've looped through the requests, all of these things. We get the key and the value, right? The value is an object. I'm destructuring the object to get the title and URL. Okay, so that's exactly what's happening here. And now you can see for yourself, if I go ahead and close this one, you see this is the key and this is the value, which where we're destructuring to get the title URL. Okay, the next thing that I'm going to do is, because we mapped through this, is I'm going to go ahead and do the following. I'm going to say, I've actually, one second, I've gone ahead and done something wrong. So here I should go ahead and have a surrounding bracket, parentheses, and then do the following. So, oops, there we go. Okay, then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to do a direct return. So we've got our closing brace, and I'm going to have an H2. Okay, now the H2 will have the title inside of it. So let's just test if this worked. Okay, so now you can see, hey, there we go. That's what I wanted to see. Okay, so at this point you should get here, and there you go. You got trending, top rated, action, comedy, horror, and so forth. So as I mentioned before, this is seen in the requests. So we've got all the different titles. Okay, Darshan, thank you so much for another donation. Can you please build a Google Drive clone with React.js, Redux, and Firebase? I sure can, dude. And keep tuned, subscribe, and I'll keep the content coming, dude. So thank you so much for your support. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead. I'm just opening up some analytics so I can see all of you beautiful people watching right now on the channel. And let me go ahead and just, there we go. Perfect stuff. Okay, amazing. Now I can see everything in a nice way. Okay, so 580 likes. Wow. And we just hit 55 in chat donations. This is incredible. Right, so we've got the titles here working as we expected it to. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and style it so it looks a bit better. Okay, so this div right here, I'm going to say class name, and then I'm going to give all the styles for it. Okay, yeah, so good shout. Okay, so we will be binding a key to the H2. Okay, so anytime that we map through any item or array or object or anything that we do, here we need to add in a key, because React needs a key so that it knows how to re-render the list. So as I mentioned before, we're going to be using the key over here. Okay, so that will be a unique key. Otherwise, your console will freak out and it will tell you out. It'll tell you off. Okay, Cesar says, wow, this chat is awesome. Yeah, chat's on fire today, guys. Honestly, incredible stuff. If you're watching this back, I really recommend you turn the chat on and have a look. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and say the following. Okay, so I'm actually going to have here for the let's go ahead and actually style the H2 first. Okay, so let's style the H2 first. I'm going to say the class name equals, and then for the last element, I want a little bit more padding to the right at the end. Okay, so I'm going to do some cool stuff there, and I'll show you how we can use some modifiers to do that. But let's have it so we hover over all of this stuff. Okay, and then it will give me a nice little scale effect. Okay, so the scale effect that I'm talking about is this one right here. When I click it, it goes red. I'm going to show you how we do all of that. Okay, Amazing stuff. Thank you guys. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and type in last. And I'll do that one after actually. I'll say cursor pointer. So I want a cursor to be the pointer when I hover over it. And then I will apply the transition. I'll do it now actually. Okay. So I'm going to do transition. This is how you do the effect. Okay. I'm going to say, let's create a transition. The duration here is a 100. So I'm going to say duration 100. That's 100 seconds. And it's going to be a transform effect. And I'm going to say when I hover over it, I want it to scale to 125%. Okay. So now you can see as I hover over it, it's going to go ahead and scale. Okay, now you can't see it properly because it's going off the screen, but we will go ahead and fix that in a sec. Okay, the next thing I want to do is I want to say hover, and the text should go white. Okay, so just as we did previously, I want the text to go white, and then when I want to click it, I want it to be active. Okay, so this will give you text red 500. Hit save, and this will allow us to have this active state over here. Okay, nice stuff. Shivam Shah says, coming here after months. It's always refreshing watching your videos. Learned a lot from you, saying thank you so much. Night Rider says, best YouTube channel. Please continue making videos like these instead of other YouTubers. They grow numbers on YouTube. They start making pay goals, which everyone can afford. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate you. And yeah, thank you. So as you can see now, we do get this effect over here. So it's looking good, but we can't see any of it, which is not great. Okay. Thank you, Amnish. See you later, dude. So here I'm going to say flex. Okay. So this will go ahead and pop everything into a row. Now you can see everything has that nice little animation effect, but it's not ideal, is it? Everything's getting squashed up together. Okay, so this is kind of, it's not looking great right now, and everything's kind of too squashed up. So how do we fix this? We say, firstly, I want to get padding on the x-axis of 10. Okay, so it's not going to touch the side. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, when I hit the small breakpoint, I want the padding on the x-axis to become 20. Okay, so this means that, like, for example, when I go a bit bigger, you see how the padding on the x-axis jumps. It gets a little bit bigger, right? That's how we want the behavior to be, okay? Shiram says, my current job is because of your videos. That's incredible, dude. Thank you so much. That's actually incredible, right? And then here I'm going to do text to Excel to get the size up, okay? There we go. Starting to look pretty good, right? Starting to look really good. And then what I want to do is I don't want this wrapping behavior. So here where it says top rated, I don't ever want it to wrap. Okay, so I'm going to say white space dash no wrap. And what that does is it stops it from wrapping. But again, everything's so bundled up. Well, we want space, right? We want a nice space between them, right? So when we're on the mobile screen, notice how the spacing is a little bit less. And then when we get onto the small breakpoint, boom, it gets bigger, right? So you see how it gets bigger there. So I'll show you how we can do that in a very, very easy way. Say says, thank you so much for your hard work. Best YouTube channel for React. Thank you so much, dude. Appreciate you. We got Kenya in the house. Appreciate you guys, right? So here I'm going to say space. For everything, all the children on the x-axis, right, I'm going to say dash 10. So remember, mobile first. So this gives everything on the x-axis a space of 10. Now, as you can see, look, it's kind of, it's got an overflow scroll, but it's kind of horrible, right? So I'm going to fix that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and say when it hits a small breakpoint, I want the space on the x-axis to become 20. Okay, which means that, remember, so the padding will get bigger and the spacing will get bigger. And you see, look at that. It's just so nice. Right, and when this stuff starts to come together, right, it's really, really nice. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and say overflow x scroll. So if there's any overflow, I want it to be able to become a scrollable element. Now here you can see that we have a scroll bar. I don't like the scroll bar, so I'm going to show you how to get rid of that in a sec. Okay, so we'll get rid of that in just a sec. But the thing that I am interested in here is you see this right element. Right? I want to give some padding to the final element. Now, the way that we can do that is we go to the child element, we say last, colon, and we say PR24. And that's it. It's as simple as that. And now the last child element gets a padding of 24, which is really, really clean, right? This is honestly quite easy to use. Are you using a CSS framework? We are using Tailwind CSS. So yes, it's actually a killer framework to be using, okay? Right, so I've actually lost my thing. There we go, look us. Nice. Now, so what I want to do next is I want to go ahead and have this sort of, I want to hide the scroll bar, okay? So I want to hide the scroll bar and just have it so that it's a clean kind of, a very, very nice modern approach, okay? So we can just have a scrollable sort of, x-axis, okay? So how do we hide the scroll bar in this case? What we're going to do is we're going to actually go ahead and apply a plugin. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and actually install something called Tailwind Scrollbar Hide. So you go into Google, type in Tailwind Scrollbar Hide. First link in the description over here, Tailwind Scrollbar Hide npm. Okay, this is a plugin. So in this case, we're going to do yarn add Tailwind Scrollbar Hide. And then you can see this is how you add it in. You go to your Tailwind config. So in this case, I'll go to my Tailwind config. I'll go to the plugins and I'll simply go ahead and type in require and I'll pop it in like so. Oops, I'll pop in Tailwind Scrollbar Hide and I'll go ahead and install the dependency with yarn add Tailwind Scrollbar Hide. Okay, while that's happening, I'm going to go ahead and restart our playlist, the Papa Fam playlist. If you want access to it, remember, we can go ahead and sign up to that newsletter and you'll get free access to that playlist, the entire thing. Guys, we just broke 600 likes. Incredible stuff. This is why we do what we do. This is amazing energy from you guys. Every time, I don't expect any less. This is how the Papa Fam works. Okay, guys, let's carry on. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to hit save. Okay, now you can see we should have Tailwind Scrollbar Hide. So what this does is it actually enhances our utility classes on Tailwind so that we have this very easy to use hiding scrollbar functionality. Okay, so the way I do this is I simply go to my sort of, you know, where I wanted to have the sort of hidden scrollbar. So which in this case, it was the navigation.js. And then I'm going to go ahead and simply add in a class called scrollbar-hide. Okay, so overflow x scroll and then scrollbar hide. And boom, just like that, it's gone. Okay, just like that, it's gone. Okay, so in this case, look how clean that looks, right? Super, super clean, super easy to get that working. And we have a scrollable container, right? So that's really, really clean. Now we don't have that fade. Okay, we don't have the fade at the moment. I'll show you how to get the fade. Very, very simple to do with Tailwind CSS. But at this point, you can see, look at this. We have all of this stuff working. The UI is looking great at this point. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is actually change a few things. So I'm actually going to create a little fade effect. So you can see here, we've got this nice little fade effect, right? Which actually fades out on the right element. Okay, so the final right side. To do this, it's actually easier than you think when using Tailwind. We're going to create a div. Okay, and this div is going to be a self-closing div because we're not going to have anything inside of it. Now here I'm going to have a class name. This class name is going to go ahead and say, thank you so much, Emmanuel. Appreciate that, dude. I'm going to type in absolute. Okay, so firstly, if this is absolute, I want my parent to be relative. Okay, so that way it's going to be absolute to the parent. So here I'm going to say absolute. I'm going to say top 0, right 0, which is going to absolutely position it to the top right of this parent. And then this is where I apply a gradient. Now the gradient is going to be from the background color to a sort of, you know, a fadeaway, or it'll be, you know, like I'll show you how this will make a lot of sense in a sec. Okay, so I'm going to type in BG gradient to the left. Okay, oops, BG gradient to the left. And honestly, it's actually very easy to do this. I'm going to say the from color is going to be, and again, because we're using the just-in-time compiler, I'm going to go ahead and pop in our, you know, our lovely little bit of sort of, you know, we can add in a dynamic color and it will go ahead and pick it up. You have to use just-in-time for it to work. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish things off by adding in the final touches, which is going to say H10 for a height of 10. And then I'm going to say width should be 1/12. Okay. Now you can see, look at that. So it's a width of 1/12 of the screen. And you see how it's got a nice subtle fade. And all that's doing, guys, is it's going from a background blue to a transparent color, because we only define the from color. Hence why we only see the, if you don't define a to color, if I gave it a to, let's just say red, right? And let's just say, I think it would be to red, or it would be to red 500 or something. Let's just do to white. And then you can see it goes to white, right? But if I don't give a to color, it will just become a transparent fade. And there you go. And that's how we do it, right? Simple as. And look at that. That's nice, right? Really, really clean. Okay, so quick water break and then let's carry on. Okay, let's do this, guys. All right, Aldo says, now I get it. That's what I'm talking about, dude. All right. So really, really clean stuff. Okay, so we have all of this working. Now what I want to do, right, is when I go ahead and click on one of these, what I'm going to do behind the scenes is I'm just going to change the root. So you can see when I click this, all it does at the top is it changes the root, and all it does is it adds in a query parameter of whatever fetch that we need to do. So in this case, when I click horror, I say fetch genre equals fetch horror movies. Okay, so what I'm going to go ahead and do here is on click, right? So I'm going to go ahead and say on click, right? I'm going to have an inline function, and Next.js actually has a built-in router. Okay, so what I can do is I can do an inline function, and I'm going to go ahead and import the router from Next.js. So this is called the use router hook. And what we have to do is we have to get our router. So here I say const router. Router or router? I don't know. Is it router or router? I always get lost. It's American versus English, I think. Okay. So that should be pretty good. And then here I'm going to say router.push. And then what I'll do is I'll do backticks, and I'll say / genre. But I'm not doing normal. I'm going to say query param genre. So this is a URL query param. Genre equals, and then I'm going to basically use the key for the object that I'm looping through. And if I hit save now you can see, look at that. It changes the top over here. So it says query, so genre equals fetch top rated. If I click this, comedy, fetch comedy movies, top rated, trending, romance, horror. Clean, right? This is really clean, good stuff. Atava, what's up, dude? All right, so this is looking really, really nice at this point in time. Okay, so we got all of the foundation set up, right? Now, are you ready to get the results done, right? The nice bit, the Hulu part of the build, right? So this is actually the nice kind of, the Hulu part, right? Okay, so let's go ahead and get this working pretty clean, okay? Right, so let's go ahead and go back to our index. So I think we're pretty much done for that bit. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my index, and now we can go ahead and focus on the results. Okay, so the results, I'm going to go ahead and update here. So let's create our results component. Okay, now the results component is a little bit more of the sort of, the more interesting one. Okay, so the first thing we need to do is actually create the results component themselves. Okay, so I'm going to create results underscore RFC, and then I'm going to go ahead and have my results component over here like so. Go back into index.js, do a simple import. So end of that, control spacebar trick, import, hit save, and then we should get rid of the error. Now we have our results on the screen, but it has nothing inside of it. This is the interesting part, okay? The way that Next.js works, okay? So typically when we're using React, you deploy the entire React app to the website, okay? So imagine we have sunnysanger.com. We would deploy the entire React bundle to the website, and then when the user goes on to the website, they load the JavaScript in their browser, okay? The way that Next.js works is that the user goes to sunnysanger.com. Okay, they reach sunnysanger.com, they make a request. Now on sunnysanger.com is the Next.js server running. Okay, what we're going to do now is have a server-side render, which means that user comes to sunnysanger.com, requests a page. On the server, we build the page. We get all the JavaScript executed. We have everything. So it's all rendered on the page, on the server before it even gets to the user. And then we send over all of the, the required data and everything that the user would have had to load themselves. We're going to send that all over as a prop, right? Which means that the user just gets, well, as soon as they come onto the page, they'll get the final rendered page immediately. There's no like flickering or anything like that happens, okay? So we're going to make it work in that exact fashion. And this means that Google, their little scrapers, as soon as they come onto the page, it loads immediately as well, which means that they get better SEO performance. So the way that you can do it in Next.js to have server-side rendering is very simple. You just go ahead and add in a special function, and then it will tell Next.js that this page, only this page, right? So it's based on per page. This page is going to be server-side rendered. So the way we do is we say export async function, and then here I'm going to say get server-side props. And what we do is we get something called the context, okay? The context is going to include important details. For example, what was the URL that the user came in with? Okay, because we need that URL, don't we? Right? If we don't have the URL, I can't figure out what the genre was, and I don't know what to fetch. Okay, so at this point, remember, what's going to happen here is this will get executed before this gets rendered. So this is what gets rendered on the client. This is what gets rendered on the server. This server render happens first, and then it gets delivered to the client. Okay, so this will make sense once we get started. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the genre from that URL. And the way we do it is we say context.query.genre. And that's because, remember, we were applying the genre query param when we click on those header elements. Okay. The next step is I'm going to say, well, this is where we make a request to the database, right? So the TMDB database. So what I'm going to do is I actually need the API key, and I need to set that stuff up right now before we can continue on. Okay. So in my environment local file, remember we needed an API key. So I'm going to show you how to get your API key right now. Okay. So right now what I'm going to do is I'm going to head over to tmdb.com. Okay, so TMDB, the movie database over here. What you want to do is you want to click on login. So I'm going to go ahead and hide my screen for a sec while I log in. So we're going to log in, create an account. It's completely free to do it. Okay, then once you're logged into your account, what you need to do is simply go over to your settings. So I'm going to click on profile and settings over here. And then I need to go to my, it's actually seemed to have changed. Okay, so I'm going to quickly find where my API key is right now. Okay, so it used to be, there we go. I go into settings, there we go. For some reason it wasn't coming up, right? Then I click on this API down here, okay? So what's gonna happen is when I click on this API key, you should see inside of here an API key, right? And it will say something similar to API key version 3 auth, okay? So I'm gonna show you guys an example of how this looks right now. And hopefully this will help you out a bit, okay? So at the bottom of your screen, what you should be seeing right now is something like this, okay? So at the bottom of the screen around this section, you'll see API key, okay? Version 3 auth, and then you'll see an example API request. Now the key is what you need, okay? So here, this key is what you need to copy. Okay, so you can see pretty much it will be in this location right here. After you click API, it'll say API key. You just need to copy this key, okay? And I'm going to show you where to put this key next, okay? So what you need to do is copy that key, and this is why it's private, okay? Because I don't want my quota to get spammed, okay? So we're going to go ahead and copy that key, and then I'm going to go back to my code, and what I'm going to do is simply go ahead and paste my key over here. So imagine my key was like this squiggly nonsense, right? I'm going to go ahead and paste it here. So I'm going to paste this now, and then I'm going to close my environment local file. And that's it. That's all you need to do to get your key up and running, okay? So I'm going to quickly go ahead and paste it on my machine, and then I'm going to close my environment local file, okay? So I've gone ahead and done that. I pasted it and it worked. And then I'm going to go ahead and do Command J, and I need to now load my environment variables into my Next.js project. So the way I do it is I do Control C and I do yarn run dev again. So I need to restart my server. And what you should see here is a message about our environment variables now. Guys, we're almost at 700 likes. I think we can get there. Let's keep pushing those likes. Okay. So at this point, you can see it says loaded environment variables from environment.local. Perfect. Okay, so everything's working the way we wanted it. That's great. Okay, so now what we can do is we can make a request. Okay, so if I go to my request now my environment key is populated with our environment variable. Okay. Let's do a speed run before it runs out of the quota. Soon, I'll do it at the end. I'll show my key at the end if you really want to do that. Okay, so that's great. All works perfectly. And now what I'm going to do is go to my index.js, and we're going to make a request. So here I'm going to say const request, okay, equals await, right? Because it's an async function, we can do async await. I'm going to say await fetch, and this is basically how you make a GET request to the TMDB server, okay? So I'm going to be getting all of my data from the TMDB. Oh God, okay, there we go. It's all right. Slipped up. Anyway, that's fine. So we've got the TMDB server over here, right? So I'm going to go ahead and pull all the movies from that bit. Doesn't really matter, to be fair, okay? So now I'm going to say await fetch. I was just trying to show you that it's important to hide stuff sometimes, okay? So here I'll say backticks, and then what I want to do is say HTTPS, like so, all of this stuff. I will enable Webpack 5 soon, yes. Okay, and then here I'm going to do my string interpolation, okay? Now what I want to do here is I'm going to say requests, okay? So requests, I'm going to import this from util requests. And I'm going to say requests, and then I'm going to go into the genre. So the key is going to be the genre that gets entered. Hence why that URL that we So notice how it says fetch top rated at the top. That's going to correspond to the key over here. So if that was like fetch top rated over here, that's how we go ahead and get the URL. Okay. So here, if I go back to my index.js, now you can see request genre, and this is going to be optional chaining. So we're going to protect ourselves. And because at some point, for example, when you come onto the home screen without a query param, it's not going to be defined. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if it's not defined, so that's the first thing that will go ahead and get the correct URL. Otherwise, just go ahead and default to, let's say, fetch trending. Okay. So otherwise I'm going to default to the fetch trending URL. Okay. So I'm going to say request.fetch trending URL and hit save. Okay. Now, once that comes back, what we're going to do is go here and we're going to say then, and we get a result back, and I'm going to go ahead and pass it with result.json. So now we get a nice JSON object inside of our request. Okay. This will be exactly what we kind of need and require at this point. So the final step is, okay, so it renders on the server, okay? And then what we want to do now is simply go ahead and return this data as a prop to our component. So here what I do is I say return, and then I actually go ahead and put props. Now this bit's the cool part, okay? So remember, as I said, it renders on the server first, and then it will go ahead and generate all the data that it needs. So it goes ahead and figures out the props beforehand. And then we're going to just go ahead and pass it in as results. So here I'm actually going to say request.results. Request.results. Now, here's the cool part, guys. Right? So if I go to my home component, I will now have props, right? Because it would have rendered on the server beforehand, done all of this cool wizardry, and then it will just come through as props. So here, if I say console log, and let's just go ahead and console log my props, I'll prove it to you. Okay, so if I do F12 at this point and I go into and I refresh, I get a results array of 20, right? Boom. This is all the TMDB data. That's perfect, guys. Look at that. That looks great. Looks exactly as we wanted it. And it's working just as I liked it, right? So that at this point is just as we want it, all right? So if you found that pretty cool already, smash the thumbs up button. That was your first demonstration of server-side rendering, live in a cool sort of, besides WhatsApp. We got it working here as well. So go ahead, smash that thumbs up button. We're almost at 700. Okay, almost. Just Egg, what's up? Coffee on me, bro, or by Dodge. Who knows? I might have Dodge. Excited to learn server-side rendering. Amazing stuff, dude. Thank you so much for the $5 donation. Appreciate it, man. That's incredible. We've got the results coming through. So at this point, I'm going to destructure the results because I don't need to have the entire props. And I'm going to go ahead and pass my result as a prop to my results component. And you can see where this is going, right? Now I simply have a results component, which takes my array of props and we render our front end. Okay. So I'm going to jump into my results section over here, hit save. Go into my results, and this is where the fun happens. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get our props come through here, destructure it to get the requests. I like to show it like that, right? So now we have our request come through here. I'm going to go ahead and hide this, and here you can see this is how I figure out what comes back. I always console log it, and then I'll go ahead and check out. Okay, so this is how I go ahead and figure out, what's the ID? What sort of properties come back? Okay, this is the popularity. What is the title of the video coming back, and all those sort of things. The vote count, for example, how many people have thumbs this up, right? All that sort of good stuff comes through at this point. Okay, so now what we can do is go ahead and implement this, right? So the first thing we'll do is we have a div. Okay, inside of my div, I'm going to render thumbnails. Okay, so these are all going to be reusable components called thumbnails. Okay, and they're simply just going to get the the data that comes back from the request. Okay, so here I'm going to go ahead and render a thumbnail. Okay, but instead what I'm going to do is I'm going to get my requests. I'm going to map through every single one, and every single result that comes back, I'm going to go ahead and render a thumbnail with it. Okay, and the thumbnail we need to go ahead and create. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and create a thumbnail component. So thumbnail.js. Hit save, and then I'm going to do _RFCE. Boom, working, nice. And then here I'm going to go ahead and pass in some props. Okay, so here's my thumbnail over here, and I'm going to get my results over here. So here, so what I'm going to do is firstly the key. Remember, every time you're mapping through something, you should always have a key. In this case, we're going to use the result.id for the key. And the second thing, I'm going to pass the entire result through as a prop. Okay, so we get that entire object inside of the thumbnail. So that means we get our prop destructured over here as a result. Okay, perfect. So we have our requests come through here. Now I am going to go ahead and structure this out. It says cannot read property map of undefined. Okay, so I need to figure out what's going on here. Okay, so at this point, if we've got the results come through, and this is requests, this is why, right? So I've actually gone ahead and changed this to results. This should be results.map. There we go. And hit save. Thumbnail is not defined. We can go ahead and import this. Boom, hit save. Oh, okay. So sometimes it doesn't want to do it. Right. So at this point, what we can do is go ahead and hit that. Import thumbnail. And you can see element type is invalid. This is because we're not rendering anything out at this point. Okay. So what I'm going to do at this point is just type in a H1 just to say thumbnail, hit save. And there you go. Thumbnail. Okay. So I'm going to make this look as the final outcome would. Okay. So at this point I can close my results for now. Okay. And this is where stay tuned, because this is where it gets very interesting. Okay, so we're almost to 700 likes. I think we can break it, because this is where I go ahead and I deep dive into how we go ahead and have CSS grid when it's a mobile. So one column to then a 2 column on smaller iPad size screens, and then a 3 column on desktop. And then we break from that and go to Flexbox on the huge screens. So I'm going to show you how to do all of that very easily right now. So get excited. This is going to be a lot of fun. Okay, and this is where it gets intense. That's why the music's got stepped up a little bit. Okay, so at this point we've got our thumbnail over here. So instead of saying a thumbnail, I'm going to go ahead and give something a bit more interesting here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and we've got our div. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to say is inside of this div, I'm going to have a image. This is going to be a image from Next.js. So remember, we're going to use the Next.js, and again, actually I want to have this on the full screen. So this is going to be a Next.js image, self-enclosing in fact, and then we're going to have the layout to be something. So they take a property called layout. This is actually a pretty cool thing. It takes 4 different options. You got fill, fixed, intrinsic, responsive. I'm going to be using responsive. Feel free to have a look at that. All right, so you can check that one out in the meantime when you want to check it out. Now I'm going to make the height and width 1080p, right? So it's going to be a 1080p sort of dimension aspect ratio. And then I'm going to give the source, okay? Now the source is interesting, okay? So firstly, the images that come back, right? So the results that are coming back, if I go ahead and console log the result, check this out, right? So firstly, I'm going to comment this out, but have a look at this, right? So if I go ahead and go into my console, let's check out one of these, for example, okay? So when it comes back, we get the poster path, okay? Now this is a JPEG path, but it's just simply / and then a path, right? What is the base path? We need a base path. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you what the base URL is over here. So this is the base URL that everything is gonna be sort of, it requires this before we actually append that sort of URL that comes back, okay? Now, interestingly enough, it doesn't always come back with the sort of, predictable sort of, like position in the object. Okay, so in this case, what you can do is you can say it could be this, or it could be this, or it could be this. And I'm going to show you how you do that. Okay, so the first thing we're going to say is I'm going to do backticks, and I'm going to say, okay, let's string interpolate the base URL, and then we're going to say string interpolate the result dot backdrop underscore path. So this is one location where it could be. Okay, and again, how did I find this? I found it by having a look through each of the different results, and I can basically determine what is coming back as a result, right? Or it could have been the result. So there's a few different options here. What I'm going to say is instead of this one, right? So it could be the backdrop path, or it could be the result poster path. Okay, so or it could be the result poster path. So in this case, let's go ahead and clean that up. Nice. Right. Or instead of all of this, it could be this. Okay, so stay with me, right? So stay with me, it makes sense. Or it could be this right here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and show you guys the final finished variant so it's not too confusing. There we go. Okay, so it could either be one of the two things like so. Now this will ensure that you don't get, like a missing image or anything like that. This will make sure that it goes ahead and Is this video live? Hell yeah, dude, it is. And now you can see, look at this, right? We get the images come on the screen. And remember, as I said before, they are lazy loaded. Okay, so these are being lazy loaded as we scroll down the screen out of the box. Next.js does that out of the box, okay? So what we can do now is, and you can see, look, it's responsive. So the screen size, these images are all responding to the screen size, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna have another div. Okay, so I'm gonna have a div underneath my image. This div is gonna be responsible for the text. Okay, so you see this text right here. Notice how when we hover over it, we get an the animated text gets a little bit bigger, and we show some of the data on the screen. Okay, so a few different things are happening right now. Guys, we're almost at 700 likes, 15 likes away from 700 likes. Go ahead, smash the thumbs up button, subscribe if you're enjoying this right now. Let's keep on going strong, guys. Okay. So what we're going to do now is we've got the div over here. I'm going to give a p tag, and I'm going to say this is going to be the result.overview. Okay, and if I hit save, there you go. These are going to be the results of the image. See the results of each of the results. Like, this is going to be the text, the overview text for each of the results. They're super confused right there. Okay. Now what we can do is, if it gets too long, right, I want to truncate it, which means give it a dot, dot, dot. So in Tailwind CSS, it's super easy. We can just say truncate. And now look what happens. If it gets too long, it will just go ahead and add a dot, dot, dot at the end of the line. Okay. So now what I want to do is I'm going to say truncate, and I'm going to say max width medium. Okay. So I don't want it to touch the end. I want the max width just to be a medium. Okay. I want the entire div to have a padding of 2. I don't want it to be, you know, touching the sides like it is. I want to give padding of 2. Okay, that's a bit nicer. Looks a bit cleaner. Thank you so much, Yash Singh, for the lovely donation. Appreciate that, dude. All right. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go underneath and go ahead and do H2. And inside of here, I'm going to have either one of two things. Right? I might have a result.title. And as I mentioned before, some stuff comes back from an API. You know, sometimes you have this issue where it could come back under one thing, or it could come back under another thing. So in this case, it's either the title or the original name. Okay. So if we do that now, you can see now the actual film name comes up. So we've got all the different film names. So you got The Godfather, Gabriel's Inferno, and so forth. Okay. So what I want to do now is have a p tag underneath this. Now the p tag underneath this is the interesting one. This is the one which actually has, it has the date, it has the little dot, it has a thumbs up, and then it has the like count. Okay, so the number of likes. So how do we get that? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and actually, firstly we need an icon. So it's a thumbs up icon from Hero Icon. So we're going to be using that. Boom, we broke 700 likes. Thank you so much. That's incredible, guys. Let's keep going on strong. We are almost at the end. Keep it up. This is so much. This is so fun, guys. Incredible, incredible stuff. Okay, so let's do this. So we've got a p tag here, and then I'm going to go ahead and say, so at this point, what you can do is I'm going to go actually paste this one out because it's quite a hefty one, and I'll explain it. Okay, so we're saying either the media type or so it's either result.media type or result.media type. Oh, sorry, and we're checking that it exists. So in this case, you could do so if it exists, that's why I'm showing it. And then I've got a little space, and then I'm saying it's either going to be the release date or the first air date. And then we've got a little dot, and then I'm going to have a little space, and then I'm going to give a thumbs up icon. Thumbs up icon is going to have a height of 5 and a margin on the x-axis of 2. Then I'm going to pop in the result vote count. Okay, so I'm not going to go ahead and explain every bit there, but you can pretty much go ahead and copy that out if you would like to. That's how we get this data here. And obviously it's not looking great. So I'm going to go ahead and show you that how we do that right now. Okay. So the way we do this right now is I'm going to go to my p tag, and I'm going to say this is going to be flex. So class name, and this is going to be a flex item center like so. Flex item center. And then there we do it. Okay. And now that you can see it's starting to come together a bit more. Awesome. Okay. So what we do next is I'm going to say, okay, by default, this has an opacity of 0. So we don't want to show that by default. I only want it when I hover over the group. So remember we did this before, right? We did the group hover. Okay. So in this case, the group is actually going to belong to the overall parent div. Okay. So this is actually going to be where the group starts. And then down here, what I do is I go ahead and say on the group hover. So that's how you're wondering how we do this sort of, grouping. That's how we do it. So we say group hover. And then here what I'll do is I'll say group hover opacity changes to 100. Okay. So now if I hover over it, can you see how it appears only on the hover? Nice. Awesome stuff. Looks great, right? So at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to say cursor pointer. So cursor pointer on the overall parent. Hit save. And then you can see now we've got a cursor pointer. Looking a lot cleaner there. Okay, guys, we're almost at 800. I think we can hit 800 by the end of this, right? Let's keep going. Let's keep going. This is incredible stuff. Okay, so now we've got this. We've got the pictures coming up. Awesome stuff. I'm gonna change the H2 because it looks kind of ugly right now. Right? I don't know about you guys, but I don't like that. It doesn't look nice. Okay, so the H2 here, I'm gonna say class name equals. I'm going to say empty of 1. So let's actually space this out a bit so you guys can see what's going on a bit. Okay. So here I'll say margin top of 1. Okay. And I want the text to be, I want the text to be 2XL. There we go. So text should be 2XL. So that's a bigger text. Text should be white as well. Right. Text should be white. And then this is where I want to have the sort of, the interesting part for the scaling effect. Okay, so you see here like how we make it a little bit extra bold, okay, when it does that. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to say transition all, and then I'm going to say duration of 100 seconds. Okay, then I'm going to say ease in and ease out. So if you know about easing in time functions and things like that, you can actually change it here. So if you want to have an ease out, you can do ease out. If you want to do ease in, you can do that. I'm going to do ease in and out, right? And then what I'm going to say is I'm going to say when you hover over the entire group, I want the font to go bold for this heading. Now with that in play, look at that. Boom. Looks really clean. Okay. So this is looking very nice at this point in time. Right. So we're almost there. Right. We're almost getting there. Right. But obviously at this point, it's not fully responsive yet. I mean, like right now it's just getting huge. Okay. We want it to be really nice and responsive. And trust me, we're almost there, guys. It's coming in. Right. So bear with me. We are almost there. Okay. So at this point, what we're going to do is we're going to go down to our, up to our parent component, and we're going to continue here. Okay. So at this point, what I'm going to say is we've already done, the group and so forth. I want this to have a padding of 2 because right now this is touching the sides. It doesn't look that great. I want a slight little padding and then it immediately looks a bit nicer. And then what I'm going to say is let's give it a transition, right? Duration 200 seconds. Okay. Ease in. Right, ease in, and I'm going to say transform. Okay, and then here I'm going to say small. So when we hit the small breakpoint, so what I actually want is I want this hover effect only to apply on the big screens. When I'm on a phone, it doesn't make sense to have a hover effect, right? Because think about it, when you're on your phone, it doesn't make sense to have that hover effect. It just doesn't feel right. Okay, so if we go over here now, what I can say is I can go ahead and do transform. And I'm going to say only on the small screen when we hover should I apply hover scale of 105, and you can see how we can chain things together there, right? And also I'm going to say hover the Z index should be 50 because we want it to appear above everything else. So at this point, perfect. It's looking great, but only on the big screens do we get the nice hover effect. Okay, this is actually where we wanted to get to. So this is looking great at this point. Okay. So Code with Yug, don't worry, dude. It's all recorded. It will be up online after this is finished. This is live right now, but we will be uploading this straight away after. Do not be afraid, dude. Okay. So at this point now, we just need to go up a level. So the thumbnail at this point is done, right? The thumbnail is done. Now we need to go ahead and figure out how we can use CSS Grid and Flexbox. So if you're excited for that bit, smash the thumbs up button. Let's do this, guys. Right. So what we're going to do here is I'm going to go up to Techno says, hello Sunny, big fan of yours. My friend, could you please guide us the best way to avoid cause errors and way to solve pre-flight requests? In a different video, I sure will, dude. Okay, so at this point, we've got the results here. Now inside the results.js, I'm going to go ahead and give it a class name. Okay, so a class name. And now this is where we do all of our magic. Okay, so remember, it's mobile first, which means we do all of our styling based on the mobile view first, and then we move up. So the first thing we'll do is I'm going to say padding on the x-axis of 5, right? That brings things a bit closer in. Margin on the y-axis of 10, right? That'll go ahead and separate it from the top a little bit. right? Now on the small, right? So by default on mobile, it's actually inline. So this is inline right now. But on the small breakpoint, I want to go to a CSS grid. Okay, so what I do is I say on the small, apply a grid. Okay, so now you can see over here we're on inline, and then boom, it goes to a grid. So you can see that tiny little jitter, that's actually changing to a CSS grid. So on the smallest mobile view, it's inline, then it turns to a CSS grid. Okay, at this point, when we hit the medium, okay, so when I do MD, so a medium breakpoint, I'm going to change the number of columns, so grid columns, to 2. Right, so now look at this magic. All right, and if you're ready for this, get excited. This is pretty cool. All right, so if I go ahead and make it on the medium, there you go. Boom, look at that. So on the small, a mobile inline, hit small, we go to grid, but 1 column by default. And then when we hit the medium breakpoint, boom, we hit the 2 column. Okay, that looks really great. And obviously right now it's just going bigger and bigger and bigger because we haven't set any more columns after that. Okay, then what I'm going to say is when you hit the extra large screen size, okay, so I found that was a suitable barrier for me. Thank you so much, Coded Diog. I don't consider myself to be an expert though. I always plan on improving. That's how I see it. Right, so on the Excel screen, grid column 3. So at this point, okay, 2, get bigger and bigger and bigger, 3, hey, there we go. And look at that, right? Look how nice that is, right? But what if we have a huge screen? Right, so let's go ahead and go to the really massive screens, right? Like say look, this was a 4K screen right now. This just looks ridiculous, right? Instead, what we want to see is something like this. Imagine if I go to a 4K screen, then I want to use the 4K screen accordingly. So you see this, that's better, right? But how do we get to that, right? So what I need to do is I need to change this from CSS grid to a flexbox, right? So how do we do that? So right now, obviously, this is looking pretty damn good, right? So smash the thumbs up button if you're thinking this is looking nice. Comment what your favorite part is so far. Okay. Thank you so much, Work. He says, hi, Sonny. My boss got impressed by my React skills. That's incredible, dude. That's what I'm here for, man. Well done. Right, this is looking good. Okay, so what I'm going to do, go back here, and then we've got the Excel grid columns 3. I'm going to add in a custom. So the 2XL is a bit too soon for me, right? So I need to add in a 3XL, but 3XL isn't supported out of the box. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to my Tailwind config and I'm going to extend, and I'm going to show you how you can add in your own breakpoints. So where we have our theme, you go inside the extend, and here you just type in screens, okay? Now inside the screens, you can add in your own breakpoints. You can actually call this whatever you want. I'm going to say at 3XL, I'm going to say it's a 2000 pixel breakpoint. Okay. So this is only going to apply when the 2000 pixels is hit on a breakpoint, but this will go ahead and literally upgrade my Tailwind now. So I now have a 3XL breakpoint. Simple as that, right? So at this point, what I can do is I can go over here and I can say 3XL. Okay. So I can do 3XL. And I can do a flex. So when we hit the 3XL, I'm going to say change it from a grid to a flex, right? And then by default, the flex wrap should be applied and justify center. And obviously these won't get applied until flex gets applied, so I don't need to have the breakpoints on them, okay? So if I hit save now, watch this, guys, okay? Now if I go bigger onto a 4K, for example, screen, look at that. It breaks out of CSS grid and goes into a flex box, which is incredible. And if it goes bigger, it will wrap by default and it will just work. So now you have support for mobile screens, right? So now you have support for mobile screens, tablet screens, desktop screens, and 4K screens. Now, if that's not cool, I don't know what's cool, because that to me is damn cool as a developer to have all of that power under the hood with Tailwind CSS. And we just added a custom 3XL breakpoint in. We have all this beautiful functionality, and look at that. By the way, guys, I forgot to show you that. Look at that. I'm so confident. I didn't even test that. It works. Look, now if I click on the different sort of sections, it will change the URL. So if I click on romance, it will change to fetch romance movies, which will cause the sort of page to re-render, which means that this actually refires. So if I go to our index.pages, like here, it will cause this code to re-render because it's actually technically a new page request. And this will go ahead and refetch the different, but notice how Next.js does it so elegantly. So if I click on mystery, right? It only refreshes as it needs to, okay? And what's beautiful about this is it will cache, right? So in this case, notice how these pictures were loaded previously, okay? Which means that it now has that in the cache. So if I go to sci-fi and I come back to mystery, notice how it would have cached those images so it loads faster for the next time. Okay, so you notice how these are all massive improvements which gets made to the application, okay? So this is incredibly powerful stuff right here, okay? So this is looking pretty good at this point, okay? So I think on that note, what we can do now is I'm gonna add in a quick animation so you can notice how in the actual final build, we get this nice kind of, you know, like smooth disappearing effect that comes into play, right? So it's a very subtle, but it's very like a smooth sort of animation that kicks in. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do this. We're going to use something called flip move. Okay, so this is called React flip move. So what we're going to do is I'll show you how to do this. I won't go into too much detail here with this one, but it's a very quick implementation. What we do is we open up our terminal. We're going to split the terminal over here. I'm going to do yarn add React flip move, and then I'm going to import it while it's doing it so we can prepare ourselves. Now there's two steps that we need to do for this. Okay, I just need to simply go ahead and change flip move. And somebody just said, Tefira says, how can you learn React, Next, and Tailwind in the fastest way? So my honest approach is, one, join an amazing community, because you're going to be surrounded by mentors, other people pushing themselves. And two, you're also going to be I would say learn through practical application. I find that learning through practical, absolutely, you know, doing things rather than just kind of reading the theory or all this stuff that you're never going to use. Actually do stuff, mess around with stuff, build websites, build cool stuff, be happy with it, and then it will stick, okay? Will the images load faster if you lower the size? Yes, but remember, the Next.js actually does a really genius thing. It changes the file format to WebP. I think it was the new, basically it's a new image standard. I think it's WebP. Yeah, it's WebP. Yeah, but it's extremely small, and basically it will only deliver the size file for the device you're on out of the box. It does that, which is incredible. Okay, so it will deliver a higher res image for the higher sort of resolutions and a lower res image for the lower resolutions. Okay, so here I'm going to go to my div and change this for flip move. Okay, that's the first step to get this animation in. Let's go ahead and do this, right? And then I'm going to go to the thumbnail over here, and then I'm going to go here, thumbnail. And then what I'm going to do is I'm simply need to just do a tiny change here, right? So I need to make this an ES6 function. So I'm going to say const thumbnail and change this to an arrow, like so. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to import something called forward ref. And for this animation library to work, all we need to do is attach a forward ref into this component. So the way we do that is we say forward ref, add a parentheses, go right to the ending block. So let's go ahead and, come on Jay, hide that, and add a parentheses over here, okay? And then what we do is we come to our result, we do a comma, and we now have a reference. This is used by the reference in the parent component. If that doesn't make sense, just Google what forward ref is, have a look into it, and you can definitely check it out. But in this case, I'm not going to dive too far into it. And all we need to do to make the animation work is type in ref, okay? And what you need to make this all work is your result that you're rendering has to have a valid key. Otherwise, this won't work, okay? D. Malong says, is Tailwind the next big thing? So I'm going to answer your question with a funny pun, right? Is Tailwind the next big thing? Next.js, in my opinion, is one of the absolute big things coming up. Tailwind is an absolutely incredibly powerful tool. So utility sort of, you know, framework for CSS. So in my opinion, yes, absolutely. Okay. Okay. So in this case, let's hit save. And now if we go back to our app, it says component is not a function. Let's go ahead and check this out again. There we go. Refresh. And now if I click on action, right, there you go. You get a nice little change right there, okay? Now, some of you are wondering, you know, like it may seem slow or something like that. That's because I'm live streaming, and hence the connection is going to be, you know, damaged and things like that. So this is going to be a lot faster once we host it and things like that. So if you check out sunnysanger.com, it's pretty fast, okay? So, and obviously you can always optimize further, but this is pretty good right now. So what we're going to do now is we have our fully working Hulu clone. We've got our animations, our lovely little kind of, you know, responsive design, everything is working the way we expect it to. If I go ahead and click on trending, it goes ahead and delivers the movies accordingly and so forth. Okay, so in this case, right now it's being a bit slow because we are live. Okay, but everything at this point is built. So the next step naturally is to deploy. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you how to go ahead and deploy your Next.js application to Vercel. And then what we're going to do is we're going to connect that to Hostinger so you can have your own beautiful custom domain name. If you're excited about the deployment step, let me know right now. Let's deploy this app, guys. Drop it in the comment section right now if you want to deploy the app with me right now. Let's do this, guys. Smash that thumbs up button. Let's do this, guys. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're gonna hit Command J, and all we need to do is push this to a GitHub repo. That's the first step, okay? So let's go ahead and pop open our GitHub repo. So if we open up GitHub right here, all you need to do is, I'm gonna go ahead and remind later. Let me just hide that right now. Cool, let's do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and add in a new repo over here. And here I'm just gonna create a, let's just say Hulu YouTube clone. There we go. Oops, Hulu YouTube clone. I'm gonna make this private for now. Click create repo. Okay, this is the first step right now. Okay, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click on, grab this line right here, copy it, and I'm not gonna go too far into how you use GitHub at this point, but what you need to consider yourself with right here is we just go ahead and do git remote add origin, like so, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna say git add all, and you'll see that now all of our changes have now become staged, which means they're ready to push. Okay, then what we do is we say git commit -m for a message, and then here I'm just going to say initial commit, and we've committed all of our changes. Okay, the next thing I want to do is do git push. Okay, and then I'm going to copy this and just grab that and paste it, and this will push my code to the GitHub that I just created. Okay, so I have got a password here, so I'm going to go ahead and pop that in right there, and boom. Okay, really nice. So now what we're going to do is if I go ahead and refresh my GitHub, we have the code on GitHub. Okay, that's the first step you need to do to go ahead and get your application deployed. All right, so Mohammed says great job, clean build. I am convinced now to use Tailwind. Nice stuff, thank you so much, great mentor, appreciate you, dude. So now what we do is we go over to Vercel. Okay, so vercel.com/dashboard, and what you want to go ahead and do is create a simple account on Vercel. It's very quick to go ahead and do, and we're gonna go ahead and somebody says, will you do a next clone with Firebase? I will definitely cover everything, dude. I'm working very hard to make sure I cover everything. And we're gonna click on new project. Okay, so we're gonna click on new project here, and then we're gonna go ahead and hit on the Hulu YouTube clone. Okay, so I've just committed this, and you can see right here. So you just need to go ahead and connect your GitHub repo. It's very easy to do, yeah? You click on import. Now, as you can see, we click on our personal account. So this bit's very simple to do. And then we say project name, and it will automatically detect if it's Next.js. And then this is the interesting part, the environment variable. So remember, guys, we had an environment variable inside of this project. I will show it now as I don't really, it's fine, the end of the build. So I'm going to go to my environment.local, okay? And without this key, this will not work, okay? This will not work because it will break, right? It won't have the variable available in the production environment. So what we do here is we grab the API key, okay? So we go here, and the environment name must be the same. So we're going to say API key, and this will be encrypted, so it's safe to have. And then what you can do is, obviously you don't share this key typically, okay? So I would copy this key, and I would simply go here and do this. And I would click add, okay? Now you can see I've added in my environment variable, okay? Now I click on deploy. Simple as that, okay? And now what this will do is it will deploy my main branch from GitHub, which was the initial commit, which I just committed previously. It will go ahead, build it out. Okay, we'll go ahead and, what's up, Dixon? Good to see you. We'll go ahead and build it out, install all the yarn dependencies that are required, and then it will go ahead and deploy this to a Vercel domain. Okay, so this will pretty much go ahead, create the optimized production build, do everything that we need to do to get it working. And here you can see the JIT engine is running, so it's pretty much doing all the build commands that we would have done. And then it goes ahead and pushes it onto a Vercel domains. You actually get given a Vercel domain for free out of the box, and it will work for you. Okay, so build completed. And then, hey, look at that, guys. Congratulations, your project has been successfully deployed, right? So this is working nice. Smash the thumbs up button if you're excited for this. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna click visit. Okay, let's go ahead and see our actual application in action. Okay, so boom, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and drop that in the chat right now. And that is actually the application that we just built, right? So look at that. That's literally the application that we built, fully mobile responsive, works on small screens, works on huge screens, and everything in between. Okay, so that's how we can pretty much get this working. And yeah, the next step is we're gonna host it on Hostinger. Okay, so if I go to my dashboard over here, it's very easy to go ahead and actually host this on your own custom domain. All you need to do is here you can see you get the domains for yourself. We click on settings over here, we go to domains, and then basically you need to purchase a domain. Now, how do you get your own custom domain? Right, so your boy went and hooked you up with a 7% discount. So first link in the description is to buy your custom domain with that nice little 7% off your annual plan at Hostinger. And I'm going to show you how simple it is to go ahead and do this. So what you need to do is go over to hostinger.com, sign into your portal, right? Or go ahead and literally get that offer that I have in the description. So I'm going to quickly log in right now. And I will show you guys the Hostinger panel, which is extremely easy to go ahead and get started with, okay? So give me 1 second while I get into my panel right here. Right. Everything takes a little bit longer when I'm live, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and quickly log in right now. And we should be up and running in just a second. Okay, so I'm not seem to be getting in. Let me try this one. Okay, let me go ahead and try a different account. If you guys want access to the Papa Fun playlist, by the way, guys, feel free, sign up to the newsletter. You will get access to it. You know what to do, right? We'll send you over the playlist and you can listen to all these tunes while you're working on your Hulu 2.0 clone, okay? So perfect stuff. I am inside right now. I'm actually in a different account right now. Let me go ahead and get into the correct account. I've got different accounts with hosting, okay? But right now, guys, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what your favorite part about today's build was while I get this up and running. Let me know right now in the comment section. And yeah, let me know what your favorite part about today's build was. Alu says, awesome build, Sonny. Going to code later, but learned a lot just watching live. Keep it up. Thank you so much, dude. That really, really appreciate that. Vineet says, let's see what Vineet says. Oh, he says, awesome. Thank you so much, by the way, Lalu. Girara says, great job. Please, how does data flow between components and Next.js like Reducer when you're using Redux? So the only difference you're going to have to account for is when it renders on the server, in which case you need to do a step called hydration to get the store hydrated in the same fashion. I'm not going to get into that now, but it's just that's what you would need to look into, okay? Manly says, React or Vue? Does it matter? Yes, React all the way. Okay, so guys, once you're over into your hosting H panel, what you need to do is come over to this screen. Okay, so you go over to this screen right here and you will have your domains. You just need to go ahead, grab your domain with that first link in the description. I want to see, remember guys, first 10 people to comment their custom domain name, I will personally review your website. Okay, so I'm not joking, I'll personally review your website. You're going to click on the hosting over here. Okay, and what I'm actually going to do is I'm actually going to cut my build because I think it's slowing down my my computer right now. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to cut my build right now. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close my code and size because it's slowing down a little bit. No. Okay. And then, okay, we can close that now. We're actually done with the VS Code. Okay, so the next step that we want to do is you want to go over to your hosting, and the hosting and make it extremely easy, guys. You simply click on manage your hosting, or you can click on your domain over here. And then once you're in here, you have access to your entire panel, okay? So what I'm actually going to do is not mess around with any of this right now. I'm going to go to my domains inside of Hostinger over here. Click down, and I've got sunnysanga.com. I click manage, and here you have extreme simplicity, okay? Favorite part, beginning, the middle, but not the end. Okay, nice stuff, dude. So here you just simply click on DNS name servers, and this will give you all of your DNS records that you have, that will basically allow you to host your custom sites. Okay, so all you need to do now is go over to Vercel, type in sunnysanger.com. Now I already have it hosted, so I'm going to do sunnysangerplustest.com and click add. Okay, once you've done this, I'm going to do sunnysanger test. I'm going to do www.sunnysanger.com. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and just do a simple, let's go ahead and do this one. Right now, what you need to do here, simply add the records to your DNS domain name. Okay, I'm already doing this one. Let's just do test2. There we go. Add. Click add. And now what we do is once this finally loads, we can go ahead and there we go. It will give you two different records. Okay, so this is the one that you should be concerned with, a record and this value. You simply copy this value, go to your hosting panel, simply go ahead and pop it here like so and click add record. Now within a very short amount of time, this whole thing will go ahead and host your Vercel application on your hosting a custom domain name. Okay, so it's as simple as that to go ahead and get started. Now guys, I hope you have enjoyed today's build. It's been incredible. It's been fun. sunnysanger.com. You can go ahead and play with Hulu 2.0 right now. As always, guys, it's been incredible teaching today, and I hope you guys have found insane value. We built the Hulu 2.0 clone, so it was so much fun today, guys, to go ahead and get this built out. It's been incredible, and if anyone's had any issues with the stream, just remember, all you need to go ahead and do, wait a few moments and we will pretty much go ahead and get the entire stream up online. And yeah, but a lot of fun today. And as I mentioned, guys, remember, first 10 people to use that link in the description will get their websites personally reviewed by your boy, Papa React. Okay, so I will see you guys in the next build, next pun intended. And yeah, guys, hope you enjoyed this. If you're watching again, smash the like button, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.